from the land of mystery, where dreams become reality, always listening to stories from the past, the present, and the future. This is Back to Your Story.
All right. There we go.
Really sounds good.
Thank you. A big shout out to Mike Dukoff for taking care of it. So, how we doing?
Great.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It means a lot to me. I remember when we were speaking in Vegas at the Maroon 5 concert, and I brought it up to you. I was thinking about it. I'm like, I want to ask him. Like, you just, because every time I've met you, you just shared incredible stories about your life, and I was like, fuck, I got to bring this guy on. And sure as shit, you said yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny. I like to tell these stories.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be accused of name dropping.
Yeah.
Because it's just that, you know, people are like, oh, you dropped some. Well, this is just really the part of the story, you know. I'm sorry, Ozzy Osborne was there. You know? I'm not going to change his name.
No.
So, you know, and it sounds kind of funny. So maybe a disclaimer here: there will be a lot of name dropping in this.
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm not doing it to drop the names.
No.
It's just easier to say who it is than to try to disguise it.
You know, it's not name dropping. You're sharing stories, and people enjoy it. I mean,
it's enjoy, and it's fun for me to do. I really
course.
enjoy it because it's fun to see people's reactions.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times too, it's fun to talk about, like, people have their own ideas of what these certain people are like, and it's fun to, like, go, oh yeah, that guy's really cool.
Absolutely.
Or sometimes that guy's a douche.
Not so much.
I did that today.
There we go. So kind of taking it back from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Van Nuys, just right over the hill.
So growing up in Van Nuys, is that kind of where you stayed, or did you kind of?
Yeah, I lived in the valley. God, probably up until almost 2000.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, when I was real little, we moved to San Francisco for a short time.
Okay.
But we didn't stay there. My dad was a bit of a charlatan. Yeah, so we didn't spend much time there. He was a sales guy.
There we go.
So he was kind of bounced around a lot. But it was almost always Van Nuys, Burbank area, you know.
When you were younger, what did you aspire to be?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. There was, my brother-in-law's dad was a carpenter.
Okay.
And he said that he was a great guy. He's passed away. He was wonderful. But he said that I should be a plumber because all you need to know is shit flows downhill.
Should have been a comedian.
Well, yeah. And I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'll be a plumber.
Yeah.
But I was always interested in music. Like, even when I was a little kid, you know, like, I was born in 1960.
Okay.
So I grew up, you know, with the Monkees and the Beatles and all that stuff. And I had 4 older sisters. So,
wow.
You know, there was Beatle records everywhere. And Paul McCartney's picture was circled on every Beatles record.
I'm sure.
So, yeah, so that got me interested. And, of course, the Monkees, you know, watching it as a kid, seeand all the girls chasing him, I was like, wow, that's got to be where it's at. You
Absolutely.
know? If you're hiding from girls, you're doing something right. No. You know what I mean?
And during that era, because, you know, my generation, we don't understand what it was like when the Beatles came out. What was that like? I mean,
I can tell you one of my early memories involves with the San Francisco thing when I was real little.
Okay.
At some point, we had to go back up there for something, and I remember my dad having us in the car and going as fast as he could to get back to Burbank because the Beatles were going to be on Ed Sullivan, and they wanted to get home in time to see that. It wasn't, you know, you couldn't record it.
No DVR.
You missed it.
Yeah.
You know? So I can vaguely remember that, or maybe I remember my mom talking about it.
For sure.
But yeah, like that my dad was just in the station wagon going as fast as he could so that we'd get home in time to see
That's so crazy. I mean, this generation doesn't understand what that was like.
Yeah.
No DVR, no TiVo, none of that shit, right? No internet, nothing. And so you watched it or you didn't. And with the Beatles, they being so iconic, even your parents, you know, rushing home to watch it.
and they weren't like rock music fans.
For sure.
But they were just everything to almost everyone.
Yeah.
It was really huge.
Absolutely. Even to this day. I mean, I'm 33. I don't know how the younger generation below me perceives the Beatles, but I know my generation and like the millennials and beyond. Fuck, man, the Beatles are one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic bands of all time. And they only did music for like 10 years.
I know, isn't that funny? A statistic that I saw. Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
It took them, I don't know how many years to put out an album, where there was a period where they were working on an album for something like 10 years. And I read a statistic that the Beatles had formed, changed the world, and broken up in less time than it took Guns N' Roses to complete that album. This spaghetti incident or whatever, I forget what it was called. But
Are you serious?
all of that span of time, that the Beatles in less time than that had done what they did.
That is incredible, man.
And I get people a lot, because as we're going to go into people that I get to be around and become acquainted with, who people would think many of them are iconic in their own way.
Of course.
But people are like, is there anybody that really, like, you get starstruck?
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I've stood right next to Paul McCartney. I've stood next to him 3 times.
Are you fucking kidding
and
me?
I cannot talk to him. I can't speak to him. I'm right now getting goosebumps just talking about it. There was one time where it was even uncomfortable. It was me and him standing alone next to each other. And I know he's just waiting for me to say something. And I'm just like, I can't do it.
Oh my gosh.
And I still, it was just a few years ago, the last time I stood right by him, and I just can't do it. And he's the most approachable guy in the world. I stood there and watched people walk up to him and go, hey, nice to meet you, I'm so-and-so. And I'm just standing there like, blah, 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 like I can't talk.
That's insane. I mean, especially for someone with your career and the things that you've done, the people you met. But I mean, he's Sir Paul McCartney, man. I mean, I can understand that.
But he's so friendly, I mean, like, I talk to this, there's people I know that are involved with him a little bit. And I try to kind of hint around that maybe they'll introduce me to him. Because, and they don't ever buy it. You know what I mean? Like he had this girl that was in charge of his security one place where I was near him years ago. And she goes, just walk up to him and introduce yourself. He's been a Beatle for a long time. He knows how to do this.
Yes. Did you see him on the James Cardone thing?
Yes, that was spectacular.
Man, that was so fucking cool. Just to see him, I mean, what is he in his mid-70s?
Something like that, yeah.
Just to see him out there freaking doing it. I mean, it's just incredible. But that's so funny that you can't talk to him.
I can't.
Well, you got to make it a plan in your head. Next time you get around to him, you're just gonna fucking do it.
I just got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just rip the Band-Aid off. So growing up at Van Nuys, growing up in the Valley, did you play in bands? What was that like?
I didn't at first. I took guitar lessons. My dad got me an acoustic guitar for Christmas and forced me to take lessons that I didn't enjoy. And so there was a guitar around all the time.
Yeah.
Then I got to high school and I still had that guitar. And in high school was where I started to kind of get interested a little more. I started listening to Yes.
Okay.
And that really, really got me going, just like everybody was listening to Jethro Tull and Led Zeppelin and everything.
Of course.
Which I should have listened to more and should have paid more attention. I kind of regret it now because I was like the Yes guy. Every day I had a Yes t-shirt and I wouldn't talk about anything but Yes,
What was that?
It just was my thing,
Okay.
But Chris Squire, the bass player for Yes, he got me interested in playing bass. And so I was like, I remember somebody telling me, there used to be the Recycler newspaper and there was ads for musicians. Somebody said, go look at that. Look how many people are looking for guitar players. Nobody. There's like 5 or 6 ads for guitar players. Everybody needs a bass player.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you're right, So I went and got a bass and started playing bass. So that was kind of my instrument. But yeah, I started playing in bands.
Okay. How old were you?
I was about 20.
Oh shit! A little
younger. I was like 18, and I had a bass, but I didn't really know how to play it.
Okay.
I was kind of trying to play along with Yes songs, and it's like your first drive is to the moon. I mean, it's like come on,
Yeah,
it's
good luck.
difficult.
For sure.
And so I was struggling with that. And actually, this guy that knows Mike Dukoff, he's a guy named Kenny Rich in the Valley. He owns a keyboard repair, and he does all the analog keyboard stuff.
Nice.
For everyone. He works for everybody. And but at the time, he was just a guy that worked at SIR and lived in my sister's apartment building. And she goes, "Oh, this guy, Kenny, he plays piano. He says he needs a bass player. Why don't you?" And I go, "Nancy, I don't know how to play." And she goes, "Just come down, And then, of course, she gets him on the phone with me, and he's like, "Come on down, come on, And
Wow.
so I get over there, and like I said, I don't know what to do. And he starts showing me what to play. He's like, "Well, play these notes, and stuff."
For sure.
So I'm playing along with him, and he was rehearsing at SIR, and he was a songwriter and stuff, and he had some songs, and I learned them with him. And so it was really cool. And then I was like 18, 19.
For sure.
I wanted to play in a metal band or something, and his stuff was kind of R&B. And I told him, I said, "Kenny, I go, there's this band I want to join, that's out in Northridge, and they're called Force Field."
Okay.
And they play like all kinds of cool stuff, like Rush and Zeppelin.
That's your, yeah.
And he got really mad, and he goes, "Whatever, go ahead, have fun playing AC/DC and backyard parties in Reseda." Right? And I just said, "Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way." He's like, "Whatever, just do your thing, And so I went and joined this band, and I kid you not, I remember when it struck me like a month and a half later, I'm in a backyard party in Reseda playing AC/DC.
Of course, of course.
But I was having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really fun, and we did just all kinds of cover songs, and we played all these parties everywhere in the Valley. It was so fun.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I'm really excited about this one. So you started doing that, and then you look back and you're like, "This dude is freaking right?"
Yeah, he's right. But at the same time, I was having fun.
That's all that matters,
I was
right
too,
Oh, of course.
And what's funny is I know Ken now, and, Mike Dukoff knows him. And just about anybody that plays keyboards knows Ken Rich audio,
For sure.
And I love to see him because I didn't see him for years, and he's still, every time we get around, he tells people, he's like, "This guy's the greatest bass player in the world." And I'm like, "You just say that because I played what you told me to." I really never mastered the instrument. I got so I could play songs.
For sure.
I could play, songs, but I never had that creative genius or whatever to really play original stuff.
I get it, but something obviously must have happened because your entire life has now been surrounded by music.
Yeah,
right?
thankfully.
Which is fucking phenomenal. After that point, you're playing the backyard parties. What was next?
Oh, next, then you got to play in an original band. You've been doing all this. Well, now you want to be a rock star.
Yes.
So you've got to do original stuff. And I found these guys in San Gabriel Valley that needed a bass player, and they were called Hostage.
Okay.
And they were getting ready to do like the Troubadour and all the clubs, the country club and Reseda and all that stuff. And they were all original, and it was serious. Not, we're doing this for real. Yeah. And so that was really when I got interested. And at the time, I worked at Prudential Insurance in Woodland Hills.
So you're doing insurance?
Well, no, I wasn't working in the home office.
Okay.
But it was great because I had a full-time job with benefits and everything, and I'm playing in a band at night. It was perfect. And there was no dress code at Prudential, so I could have long hair and do whatever I wanted. Yeah.
And how old were you?
Probably about 23.
Damn. Okay.
When I joined that band.
23. What ended up happening with that band?
Well, we played all the clubs. We got involved with this kind of a deal where we were making a demo, and then and then I got married.
All right.
And they were really bummed about that. So they kicked me out. They're like, "We can't have anybody married in our band. It's all about the chicks."
Oh, shit.
So they kicked me out, but then they asked me back.
No fucking way.
Yeah, they were like, "Okay, well, you can be married and be back." So
are you serious?
Yeah. But then the marriage started going south.
Okay.
But then, so it was kind of funny. So I went back in, and not long after that, I kind of to be honest, we were like a hair metal band.
Yes.
But a little heavier, you know, kind of like the Scorpions meet Judas Priest.
All right, wow.
And so there was, we're a little heavier than your basic pop hair metal band. For sure. But then when Poison made it, I was, because we thought we were so much better than them. Okay. And then they like took over the world.
Fucking blew up.
They were huge. And it was just, to me, it was just like, you know what? This is just, I can't do this.
No.
So I went to be an insurance agent. Like I worked in the home office and then they said, hey, you know, you can be an agent, make a lot more money, you know. So I went to be an insurance agent.
What?
And that lasted like a month.
Okay.
You know, like you're supposed to set up 15 appointments a week.
Yeah.
In the whole month, I set up 2 appointments. And I didn't go to either one of them.
What were you doing? Just partying?
Just drinking. Okay. Yeah. I was, at the time, I drank a lot. So I'm just like, I can't go to this appointment. I got beer. I've been drinking all day.
And what year was this?
This was, probably 86.
Okay.
Around then.
The year I was born.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
I get that from people like, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
That's so fucking crazy to me because like even just talking to you, you have this like youthful spirit about you. I've always felt that. Like
it's just that I've never really grown up.
Well, and that's fucking awesome. No, I love that. I there is something to say about individuals as they get older. When they lose that childish spirit about them, things change. I have one of my best friends, you know, just turned 50 years old, about to turn 50, and you would think that he's like 35, right? Yeah. And the same thing with you, just your spirit. I mean, and obviously your career. It's just things are different.
Yeah, it's kind of It's like you know, I don't think I own a suit. You know, I have, but I don't think I do now.
And so I can't imagine you doing, insurance.
It was just so bad. It was just the worst move ever. But they had a deal where, like, if you go to be an agent, you don't get to come back to your old job.
Okay.
So when that didn't work out, I was like out. You know, now I've worked there for 7 years, got paid every Friday, had benefits, you know. Now I'm just this guy that drinks a lot and drives around and doesn't have a job.
And you're like mid to late 20s.
Yeah. Shit. So, and I'd been divorced.
Yeah.
So I moved in with my sister and she was just going through a divorce too. So we moved in together and I was doing construction because her husband was a construction contractor. Okay. So he gave me a job doing construction. So I started, and I'm pretty good at stuff like that.
For sure, I can.
Even though I didn't really know what I was doing. And with him, I still occasionally see the guy once in a great while because he's my niece's dad.
All right.
So, and he's from Lebanon and he's a funny guy. But he just thought it was hilarious that he sent me to go get some 2x4s. Like first day I worked for him. And I'm out there with my tape measure that I had just bought, and I'm measuring, and there's none of these boards are 2x4. And I go back, I go, we don't have any 2x4s. And he goes, we just dropped a whole load in the front yard. What are you talking about? Just go get me some 2x4s. And I go back and I measure every one of them. I come back, they're all 1.5 by 3. And he goes, Dave, that's a 2x4. And he's every time I see him, he reminds me.
Just talking shit.
I won't see him for 15 years. I'll see the guy and he'll be like, remember that? You know, remember that? You know?
And then now you never forget it because if you see it, you're like, oh, that's a 2x4. Definitely a fucking 2x4. Exactly. And so you're doing construction. At what point?
Doing construction, and then I don't remember why I stopped working for him. I think because when him and my sister split up, it wasn't pretty. But but I knew how to do framing by then, at least somewhat. And so I was doing that in Lancaster. I was doing framing and drinking a lot. And
check.
Yeah. And we were doing piecework where you're kind of in a hurry. You get paid for each thing you do. And me and this guy are working in this house out there in the middle of Lancaster. And I was cutting a V in the end of a 2x4. And to go over a bolt, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm cutting a V in the end of this thing with a skill saw, which is a circular blade skill saw thing. Deadly,
Yeah, I've had a couple friends chop their fingers.
Yeah, so I'm cutting a V and it binds up and comes back across my thumb.
Oh,
and
shit!
Basically severs my thumb, except for like the skin. You can.
Oh shit! Yeah, you can.
Yeah, there's like a Frankenstein scar there. And see where the blade hit the bone and shifted there.
All these years later, you still got that gnarly freaking scar, man.
So, but it works fine.
Yeah.
But so I had a great doctor.
What did they do?
They reattached it. Basically, I mean, like I said, luckily the nerve on the front, like the pad, was still intact. Like the back, if you put an ice cube at my thumb right here, I feel it back here. It's weird.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Just real quick, when that happened, did it fucking hurt? Were you freaking out?
Yeah, people go, oh, he chopped his hand off and he didn't even realize it. It hurt so bad.
Oh, don't doubt it.
It was just instant excruciating pain. And then I remember like the guy I'm working with, he had a VW, and he takes his shirt off and throws it at me. We wrap it up. He goes, let's go to, we get in the car, and he had a window on this, a mirror. And as I closed the door, I looked in the mirror, and I saw little sprays of blood on my face where the blade had spun. It was so hairball.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you freaking chop your finger off.
Chop my thumb off.
Your thumb off.
It's back on now. It heals. I had that whole summer where I just hung around the pool in Lancaster.
I don't doubt it.
And then it's time to go back to work. And not only did I not want to do that anymore,
don't doubt it,
but the bottom had fallen out in the industry out there.
Okay.
They had overbuilt.
All right.
And there was no work anyways. 3 months later, I'm just like, okay. So I'm about to get thrown out of my apartment because I was done with the workman's comp. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine just happened to call me up. They call him Road Dog.
Road Dog.
And he worked for a band called Rat.
Okay.
I know
who Rat is, yeah.
So he worked for them, and we were talking, and I told him, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get kicked out of my apartment in like a week. And he goes, why don't you do what I do? I go, well, I don't know. What do you mean? And he says, well, you know about guitars, and you're good at fixing stuff. He goes, be a guitar tech. And I'm like, all right, you mean like a roadie? And he's like, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. I go, well, how much do you make? He goes, I make $1,500 a week, which in 1988 was
fucking
a
awesome
shit ton.
money. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in. I was happy making $500 a week.
That's
doing construction. I was getting $500. Like, I remember thinking, if I could just make $100 each day, I'm set for life.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm like, wow, that's great. So he goes, well, you got to start off smaller, get your foot in the door. He goes, I just kind of lucked out with Rat because they got famous when I was working for him. So then I'm like, okay. So, and I remember he actually at one point when they were recording that Round and Round.
Yeah.
I remember him calling, they were at Sound City in Panorama City, and he called me up and he goes, you ought to come down to the session. It's kind of cool. We're making this record. It's going to be a big hit. And I'm like,
this was before you even...
This is before that, when I was still doing construction.
What the fuck? In life, they say that you'll meet 3 people that can take you to the next level. Most people won't even see one.
Yeah.
This individual right here.
Oh, I've been so blessed. I've seen them all.
But this at this point in your life, you're a week and a half away from getting kicked out, being on the fucking street, broke, to now having an opportunity that is going to transform the rest of your life.
Yes, basically, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out to Road Dog.
I know. I do all the time. There's him and Bobby Brunner that owns Mates Rehearsal Studio.
Shout out to him too,
Those 2 guys I owe everything to.
So continue.
Who would they know each other? But anyways, so he goes, well, you got to do what I do, and so I'm like, great. So he goes, I'll see if anybody needs a guy. So a couple days later, he calls me up and he's like, Dave, he goes, I found this band that needs a guy to help set up monitors. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And he goes, okay, great. He goes, they're called King Diamond.
Okay.
And I go, never heard of them. He goes, yeah. He goes, they're a Danish heavy metal band. And King Diamond, it's like a guy, in his band. He used to be in Merciful Fate, and I'd never heard of them either.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. He goes, it's not much money. It's $200 a week. He goes, but it's cash, and it's 3 months that you'll have a roof over your head. That roof may be a Winnebago roof.
All right.
But, you're... What else you got?
For sure, that foot in the door.
He goes, it's a foot in the door, and they're nice guys. I'm like, okay, I'm in. He goes, okay, well, come down and stay at my house for a couple nights while they're doing rehearsals, and you can go. I said, great.
I want to stop you right here because for the listeners, at that point, you said yes. A lot of people out there, and this is not to put anyone down, might be scared to take an opportunity like that because the money's low. You don't know what the fuck it is, right? But there was something inside of you. Maybe it was just that you're at your end at that point.
Yeah, that's really what it was. I had nothing else going on. God. There was no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes,
the tunnel stopped right there.
It stopped, but new tunnel.
So, it would have been crazy not to take it.
Yeah.
You know? Plus, I had never been anywhere. Wow. I literally, the furthest I'd been from right there was I'd been to Phoenix to visit my dad.
Okay.
And I had been to Tijuana.
So you'd been nowhere.
Yeah, Phoenix, Tijuana. I think I went to Vegas once with my sister. Not traveled at all.
Wow.
And I was just like,
fuck yeah, sign me up.
Might as well. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have a job.
No wife.
I was about to get kicked out of no wife or a girlfriend. And so it was just kind of like, you know what? I'm out of here, and I took it. But the funniest thing was, like I said, I didn't know who King Diamond was. And
for sure,
for those listening to this, if you don't know who King Diamond is, you got to Google him because it's part of the story.
Holy shit.
Because he's spectacular with the makeup. But,
I got to look this up while you're telling. I want you to continue the story.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to pull this up right here.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So I think, okay, great. Danish heavy metal band. Cool. And then later that night, MTV at the time, now, like I said, this is 1988.
Okay.
They had a thing, like on Friday nights, they had like a metal, I forget what they called it. And I thought, well, I'm going to watch that and see if they show a video by this King Diamond.
Okay.
And so I turn it on. Now, like I said, there was no DVRs back then
Nothing.
So I'm like, okay, and it says, tonight hosted by King Diamond. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is a miracle.
What year is this?
1988.
Oh, my fucking God. What is the odds of that?
Look at that.
Holy shit.
There's my first employer.
Okay, yeah, straight up, if you've never seen, oh my God.
Yeah.
If you've never seen these people, this is like a mix between like Marilyn Manson meets Dracula meets fucking
Kiss.
This was 1988.
Oh, and by the way, that mic thing he has, those are real human leg bones.
Wait a minute.
This was the era that I worked for him right there. That was when
he has a microphone with the real human
attached to leg bones. They're human leg bones tied into a cross.
Okay, yeah, exactly. We're literally looking at Google right now, and this. Oh fuck, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so what? Oh my God, that's crazy.
And when I saw him on MTV, this is what I saw. He walked out with the cape on and everything, and was talking about these satanic. Look, it's the doll now. This satanic jewelry that he had on and all this stuff. And I was just like, what the, I was like, no way, and I called my friend Dave Road Dog. And his name's Dave also. Yeah. But so I called him, he wasn't home, and his wife answered. It was before cell phones too.
Yes.
So I'm like, what did your husband get me into? And she goes, I don't know, he's not here, So the next day I call him like, dude, are you kidding? I saw this guy on MTV. And he's like, no, he's real nice. He's really cool.
He's so scary.
And I'm like, I'm like, okay, here we go, So I went down there and met everybody, and we worked in rehearsals for a few days, and they decided I was in, So
for sure.
Took off on the road with them, and he was right. He turned out to be a great guy, like a really nice guy. And I worked for him for 3 months. And one day we're in the dressing room, and he goes, Dave, he talks like this. He's got this Danish accent. He says, Dave Lee, come here. He goes, I like you. I go, oh, thanks. And he goes, I want you to be in charge of the bones. Now, the bones are the mic stand thing. And he's got a backup one and a couple of skulls, reels that are in this thing in this case that he takes with him everywhere.
Is it from his family or something?
No. He bought them from like I guess like a science, you can get stuff
for sure.
That.
Not on eBay.
Yeah, not on eBay. But anyway, but he and then one of the other guys goes, he must really trust you a lot because he doesn't put just anybody in charge of the bone box,
You were in charge of the bone box.
I was in charge of the bone box.
What was that like?
It was an honor. I was kind of like, wow, that's cool.
That is, for sure.
But he has a great sense of humor. Like,
cool.
When we were recording, or I worked for him for a while, we were recording, my friend Vinny, who was their front of house sound guy, Vinny goes and buys a bunch of candy, and because the top of the skull was, one of them didn't have the top, and Vinny filled it with hard candy in the studio where it was sitting.
Shut
and his
up.
little altar thing, Vinny filled the skull with candy.
Dude, was he mad?
No, he thought it was hilarious.
Oh, fuck yeah.
you know.
How is the music?
Oh, it's like progressive death metal, maybe.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
it's very high pitched, like operatic voice that he has.
Wow.
And the music's real heavy, but it's kind of progressive. It's
For sure.
And all of his albums have a story.
I like that.
It's kind of a long, involved story.
I love
like
that.
all of them, yeah. And so, but yeah, so he turned out he was really great and had a lot of fun with them. And they were going to Europe and they couldn't afford to bring a crew, you know. So he was real apologetic. And I remember he told me, he said, Dave, he goes, I just have a feeling you're going to do good in this business. I know this is your first time, you know. He goes, I think you'll do good, you know. Oh, and then also at some point, the bass tech that worked for them, he had fallen asleep in the motorhome out in the parking lot before a show.
Oh, shit.
And wasn't there. We tried to wake him up. He wouldn't wake up. The bass player had no bass tech during the show, so I just said, I'll take care of it, you know, tuned up his bass and gave it to him. So they sent that guy home, and then I became the bass tech. So that was...
fucking
way. It kind of just happened like that.
That's
rather than just the
awesome, man.
monitors.
A lot of people would be very scared if they saw that, and they'd probably run away. But whatever was inside of you, because I'm literally looking at this, and it's fucking nuts. I mean, your story is fucking
crazy.
nuts. This guy's, his face, is he still around?
Oh, yeah, he just did a show, God, probably less than a month ago.
He still paints his face?
Oh, yeah. This is his current look right here.
So he's like 60 years old, fucking painting his face like
He might even be a little older than that.
No way. I love that. That's
But
awesome.
you know what? Like real serious, like the Metallica guys love him.
Yeah.
And they've like had him come out at their shows and do a song with them and stuff
No
like that.
way. It's that progressive, death metal. I mean,
And plus his band Merciful Fate was like really one of the first like death metal type band. And I call it death metal because it's easy to say that, but it's really not.
because you're saying it's operatic, right?
Yeah, it's kind of operatic and kind of progressive.
So the instrumentation might be more like,
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
You know, he
for sure.
sings, you know.
Ah, that's so fucking awesome. If you're listening to this, check out King Diamond. It's amazing.
amazing.
Okay, so you get off that tour, you come home. What the fuck is next?
Well, I'll tell you. Well, first off, flash forward, I guess probably 10 years.
Okay.
I didn't see him, but he thanked me on like the next 3 albums.
Shut the fuck up.
Which I thought was weird. I hadn't even spoken to him. Like 3 years later, new King Diamond album. I look at it and it says, I'm under the list of people that were thanked, and I don't know why. You know, I thought that was really something.
Oh my God. That's
But then,
super sweet, man.
Like 10 years later, I'm working for Ozzy. And we're doing an Ozfest show. This was probably 99.
Guitar?
Guitar tech for Ozzy, for Joe Holmes.
Okay.
That was a living angel, sweetest guy in the world. Was their guitar player at the time.
Yeah.
And he was for a while. People don't realize that. But he's just brilliantly talented. Took lessons from Randy Rhoads when he was a kid. But so I'm working for Joe and we're doing Ozfest, and Marilyn Manson is on before Ozzy.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting my world set up. Manson's on stage doing his thing. And we're in Dallas. And I have drastically changed since then. I've shaved my head.
Yes.
I don't look the same. I got glasses. Or maybe I didn't have glasses then. But anyways, I've shaved my head. I don't look the same. And I look next to me, and there's King Diamond standing next to me.
No fucking way.
And so I walked up and I stood next to him, and I leaned over and I go, Jesus, they'll let anybody on this stage, won't they? And he kind of goes, yeah. And then he looked at me, he goes, Dave. I go, yeah. He goes, what are you doing here?
No fucking way. He was right, though.
He was, yeah.
He was right.
And he goes, what are you doing here? I go, I work for Ozzy. He goes, I told you you were going to do good. And you're working for Ozzy, you know?
Holy
it was so funny.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a couple steps back.
Yeah, go back. That was just a little
No,
side
that's fun. This is hot. This is so awesome.
That still involved King Diamond.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So, but you get back from the tour. What the fuck was next?
Next was wishing that I could get a job.
That's a great fucking band.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, next
That's
was
fucking funny.
when this guy Bobby Brunner comes into the picture, because King Diamond and Vinny, my friend Vinny that I told you about, he worked at Mates when he wasn't on the road. Mates is a rehearsal studio in North Hollywood.
Okay.
And they had everybody coming through there. I mean, there was one time, I remember being there, they had Guns N' Roses in one room, Motley Crue in another room, and Whitesnake in another room. They had 3 rooms at the time. And all 3 of those bands were there playing.
And you were there?
Yeah, just kind of popping in and out, trying to network, I guess you'd say.
Holy shit. When you're in those moments and you're around these iconic individuals. Like, I mean, now it's maybe a norm unless you're on Paul McCartney.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that like for a young kid?
It was cool to me. I mean, it was like, wow, here are these guys. And like, I remember Duff McKagan pulling up to the studio. He had just bought a black Corvette.
For people like when you're saying names, just kind of.
Oh yeah, Guns N' Roses bass player.
There we go.
Super nice guy.
Yes.
Pulls up in this Corvette that he had just bought. He's like, check this out. And at the time, Axl was driving a Blazer. He had a big Chevy Blazer.
And they're big at this time.
They were big.
Okay.
But I think they got a little bigger after that. But this is when they first got real. Steven Adler was still playing for him, who was just a sweetheart, really. And he would always come early and hang out with me and Vinny and tell us these great stories, funny stuff that happened to them and whatnot. Super great guy.
And you're just fucking, I mean, you're literally like, your whole life is intertwined. You're partying with them. You're traveling with them.
Yeah, well, not them at the time. But yeah.
But this group.
But I'd started, kind of had my foot in the door.
Yes.
And then I got to know Bobby through Vinny mostly. And Bobby, the owner of that place. And then he called me up and he goes, hey, I think I got a tour for you. Call this guy, John Basslew. He worked with a management company called Warren Intner Management.
Okay.
And they had Faith No More.
All right.
Who was nobody.
Yep.
They had released one album that did okay in college charts with a different singer. Now they got a new singer, and they had just released The Real Thing. So it doubled my salary, $400 a week now.
There we go.
Get to go work for Faith No More.
You're almost back to what you were before, right?
Yeah. But I was like, okay, Faith No More. I didn't know who they were.
Yes.
They weren't big yet. And we took off on like a 4 or 5 month club tour. Wow. And we did a bunch of clubs and they were great guys. I mean, to be honest, I didn't like the singer very much.
Okay.
But I've heard he's changed since then. I've heard he's mellowed out with time.
Did they like to party?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't remember him partying so much, but Jim Martin, the guy with the long hair and the glasses.
Yes.
He was dangerous. But
what about you at that time too?
Oh, I just drank a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I probably would do a couple little things here and there, but my thing was drinking. And Jim liked to drink too, so it was great.
There we go.
And I remember during a show, he would have me put however many songs there were, I'd have to put a Coors Light up on top of his hand.
Shut the fuck
for each
up.
song. And in between each song, he'd pound a Coors Light. And I remember him turning around and looking at me going, drink more, pussy.
No way! In the middle of a show.
In the middle of a show, yeah. Opening for Metallica. Yeah. He was so
Drink
fun.
more, pussy!
Oh my God. He
Fucking love that.
This guy, like you see, when Faith No More was big, you see this guy and he's kind of scary looking, but he was hilarious, like just really funny guy.
Yeah.
And we just had a lot of fun. And Mike Borden was the drummer, who is one of the best drummers I've ever seen. And angel, just a super great guy.
That's so cool that these guys are.
And I worked with him later with Ozzy because he played with Ozzy and he played with Black Sabbath. But yeah, so it was great. And he was a big King Diamond fan. When he heard that I had worked for King Diamond, he was like, wow, because Mickey D, the drummer for King Diamond, went on to be in Motorhead.
Oh,
and
shit.
is a spectacular drummer.
Just fucking blew up.
People that don't know who Mickey D is, you got to see. I mean, he plays drums like nobody ever.
Check out Motorhead, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Motorhead.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Mike Borden was a big King Diamond fan, was always picking stories out of my head.
You were the bone box guy.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, so Faith No More, I went out and worked with them, and they were, like I said, it was like 6 months opening for Metallica. I remember one show with Metallica, I forget where, I want to say Cedar Rapids or something like this, Cedar City, but, kind of smaller place. But, they have sports arenas everywhere. Yes. And this sold out arena, one night, Faith No More sold one shirt.
What?
In a sold out arena, Faith No More, because they hadn't made it yet. Most people didn't know who they were.
But they fucking sold when they opened for Metallica.
Yeah. So there's like 10,000 people in there. One person bought a Faith No More shirt, and they were so happy about it. They thought it was the coolest thing.
That is fucking awesome. And they'll remember that, just like you remember that story. They'll remember that story forever. And just fucking, that's so fucking, what the fuck's the odds of that? And so you're how old at this age?
Oh, I started at 28.
Okay.
So I was probably 30, 31. Maybe probably 30.
this is
29 or 30.
You know, a lot of kids growing up, you know, in their 20s, you sometimes can feel overwhelmed. You don't know what the fuck you're going to do. And you know, for me, I didn't find my career, my path till I was 25. I'm reinventing myself now with these podcasts. You were 28. It's never too late.
No,
28,
it's never,
come on, you're still fucking young.
Yeah, but like I said, I had nothing going
Yes.
on. So it's like I get people a lot when doing my job now.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm on the side of the stage, I'm near fans, and people want to talk. And sure, you know, I'm gonna be nice to them. And a lot of people go, "How do you get this job?" And my answer is always, you have to fail at everything you've ever done.
So for people listening, and then we'll eventually get to the story, but what are you doing right now?
Me?
Yes, as far as your job. Right.
Oh, I work for Maroon 5.
Okay, and you're
Adam Levine's guitar tech. And I'm also take care of the bass player and the rhythm guitar.
very, very nice. Okay, so we'll take a step back, and then we'll eventually get there. Right?
But yeah, it's a great job.
That's so cool. I'm watching you on New Year's Eve, and like when you like just with the fucking that gold guitar, that shit. I've never seen something like that
Running
before.
around with a crazy gold guitar.
And so what? Adam wanted that guitar.
Yeah, he's funny because he'll text me like a picture.
Okay.
And like he sent me a picture of Slash holding a Hello Kitty guitar.
Did he put those stickers on, or did someone else?
No, there's not a sticker. That's
the other one.
The other one. Yeah, he picked out the sticker.
That's fucking cool.
Well, I picked out a bunch of stickers.
Yeah.
And he looked at them while he goes, "Dave, I know you're old, but that's not going to work for me." It was funny.
Like, what a dick. No, but
I know. Well, he teased me like you said something about that you're when you were born.
Yeah.
I said something about graduating from high school in 1979. Adam starts laughing. Oh, what's so funny? He goes, "I was born in 1979."
That's fucking nuts.
I'm like,
man.
I was graduating high school when my boss was born.
You know, there's just one thing about Maroon 5. Watching you guys on New Year's, the amount of hits that they have. It's just fucking
crazy. Yeah,
it's
I know.
fucking mind blowing. What are they, like the Rolling Stones of this damn generation?
It's well, yeah,
if not bigger.
You know? I mean, it's weird. A lot of people just don't like them.
It's because it's like it's pop music, but
Yeah.
like fuck off, man. Good music is good music. You can appreciate anything. I appreciate all different types of music.
So do I.
And if you are closed minded just because it's popular music, well, fuck you.
Well, no, it's like the Super Bowl thing.
Yes.
You know, their performance at the Super Bowl was fine.
Fuck yeah.
You know, but people hated it. And I'm trying to fight with people. And I'm like, if you don't like Maroon 5, you're not going to like their performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was nothing wrong with that performance.
No.
He sang, people were like, "Oh, he was so off key." He was not off key at all.
No.
You know, and it's frustrating because
For sure.
it's kind of like what's that band that everybody loves to hate?
You tell me.
Oh, come on, they have that. I can't remember, but it's like 90% of the people that hate on them probably never even heard of them.
No, of course.
It's just trendy.
Exactly. Closed-minded individuals just following a line on social media and other bullshit.
Yeah.
I remember when Dukoff showed me the video of you guys rolling out onto the field. On Super
Yeah, that was
Bowl.
crazy at the Super Bowl. Yeah.
There are not many people that will ever get to, experience that, because I had asked him, I was like, what are like some of the best experiences of your life being on this?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, look at this video. And when you guys performed on Super Bowl and just fucking seeing you go out, it's like, what the fuck? What did that feel like? I know we're jumping ahead, but we'll go back.
No, I know, but it's a really something when I tell people they're really interested. So my job is very low stress.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say mostly because the guys I work for are easy to deal with. It depends on who you deal with. Of
course.
You know, I mean, I worked for the Red Hot Chili Peppers for, God, 15 years.
And we're going to get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yes.
But, John Frusciante, I love him very much. But there was times it was very stressful, and he knows that. Well, and he's he's a kind-hearted person. So don't get me wrong.
A lot of shit going on back
But
then.
yeah, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a very kind-hearted person, but sometimes it was difficult working. But anyways, like I said, I love him very much. I just saw him a month ago. But anyways, like with these guys, it's very low stress because they're just easy to deal with. They're just there's 7 guys in that band in Maroon 5.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they're all really nice guys, like guys you would hang out with
Of
on
course.
the day off.
Yes.
Oh, and the drummer? big King Diamond fan.
That's so fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fucking cool. Every single time that I've gone to parties, the Halloween party that they do every single, just everything that I hear about Maroon 5, very family oriented, very very unity oriented.
Yeah, they're great guys.
And I can appreciate the hell out of that. Because for me, as an individual who has employees, I think it's really important to take care of the ones that help take care of you.
Yeah.
And I hear nothing but amazing things.
Yeah, they're
so
good guys.
It pisses me off when you hear people online and on TV or in person, whatever, and they talk shit about them. It's like, fuck you. Listen to their music.
And plus, live, they're a really good rock band, and people don't realize that. Yeah, like Adam can rip. He can when he
rip.
feels like it.
Of course.
Sometimes he'll just go.
Of course.
Sometimes he'll just do a solo that's going through the motions. But I mean, he can play.
And the chicks love him.
I know they do. My wife loves him.
Of course.
When I first got offered the job, my wife's like, "You're taking that job."
She's like, "Fuck yeah, you are."
Yeah,
My God, yeah, it's awesome, and all you guys are so just you're so awesome. But real quick, getting back to the Super Bowl, that moment, getting pulled out on the field, about to perform. What the fuck does that feel like?
I'll tell you. There was a moment, like, okay, there's the tunnels at the arena where the teams go in and out. They had us all backed up into this one tunnel, and I think there was something like 80, I want to say, set pieces that people have to set up.
Okay.
And it's an amazing story. And
I got chills right now.
how they do it is, I still don't see how, but there's all these set pieces, and they're tall. The stage, it's big.
It's fucking massive.
So I remember sitting in that tunnel. We got everything lined up. I've got my guitar boat. Adam's guitar's live on the show.
All right.
And, I'm sitting there, and we have this saying, when you screw up, a lot of people go, I've screwed up way bigger shows than this. You know what I mean? It's like kind of something somebody says when you screw up. It's a roadie thing.
You can't say it on the show.
And that's what hit me. I was sitting down in the guitar boat, and I'm watching the monitor, and it's the 2-minute warning before halftime. And I'm all by myself. Like, nobody's near me. There's a couple people a little far off, and I'm just sitting there by myself, just like pondering. If I screw up, I cannot say I've screwed up a bigger shows than this.
No.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I never thought I'd be saying that. You know what I mean? Because there's always something bigger.
Of course.
And this is the Super Bowl.
This is the biggest.
It's huge.
The biggest live event. I mean, the World Cup, for soccer or football.
Yeah, of course.
They don't do anything like this, right? So, you have 100, 200 million fucking people watching.
Yeah.
However many it is, a billion, I don't fucking know, but it is the biggest thing in the world. Holy fucking shit.
That
so
was crazy.
You get pulled out. Is your heart beating? Are you relaxed?
Yeah, I think once we started moving, it was such a fast-moving thing. I remember just like we had done it so many times during the week.
Yeah.
I think it was 10 times during the week
shit.
that we would do the setup and pull off, set up and pull off. And then the last couple days they did like a setup and the band perform and then pull up, so just because they have to time it exactly right.
Fuck yeah.
And I think by then we'd done it so many times that it just kind of flowed. It wasn't, during the performance, I knew everything was working fine. And I was just like, okay, let's just do this, and they did it. And it was fun and we were done. And I just remember because I remember being happy for Adam, because I love the guy. I genuinely love Adam Levine. He's a great guy. I love him. And for him to be done with that, it was almost an emotional thing. Like in the dressing room, I'm like, dude, you did it. You know what I mean? And it was really cool.
Absolutely.
And his mom was there. And, his family was there. And everybody was so happy, And then the reviews start coming in.
And fuck that,
we're in the van on the way home and we're looking at them and we're just like, it went fine. What's wrong with these people?
It doesn't matter. It could have been the best performance of their entire life, and it still would have been that way.
The other good thing is they have their heads around
Fuck
that.
yeah.
They know, Adam's fine.
Throw that shit out. You get to a point where you're just like, I obviously, I'm not like that, but I would think you get to a point where you just shut that shit off because the people that care about you and anyone else, they can suck a fucking dick.
Exactly.
Like straight up, man. This culture that is right now. I mean, I'm so happy to be alive. It's the best time to ever be alive.
Yeah.
But it is fucking too much sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because social media, everyone thinks that they're a critic, but whatever. And for Adam, man, for you guys, it was incredible. So kudos to you. You guys fucking killed it. And if you guys ever do it again, I'm coming along. All right. So let's go all the way back. All the way back. All right. So
Okay, so Faith No More.
yeah.
I'm working for them. They toured with Metallica. It was the first big tour I ever got to do. Doing arenas, and it's great to work for the opening band because you're done at like 8 o'clock and you just get to hang out, and being single at the time and meeting girls. It was a blast.
Of course.
So that was a lot of fun. And then after that ended, the manager, or Faith No More, was going to Europe, and they had a crew in Europe. They still hadn't made it yet. Like I said, the song Epic, that was really their big hit, that wasn't released as a single yet. They had released 2 other songs first that really didn't do that well, but they'd created a buzz. They got nominated for a Grammy.
Oh, nice.
And we did this tour with Soundgarden at the time, which was really good. Soundgarden and Voivod. Who's Voivod?
I have no idea.
The Canadian rock band that was the headliner of this tour. And Soundgarden was in the middle, and Faith No More was opening.
Voivod?
Doing clubs and theaters.
What was that like? Did you like Soundgarden back then?
Oh yeah, I liked them a lot, and it was cool because I think it was the Louder Than Love tour.
All right,
you know, it was before they really broke big, and it was cool seeing them because they were obviously on their way to taking over the world.
Fuck yeah, I mean,
and it was, things were moving so fast at that time that like people go, how is Voivod headlining? Well, when they book these tours, it doesn't happen for a couple, 3, 4, 5 months.
Of course.
In that short span of time, Soundgarden had exploded.
Jeez.
You know? And so it was really kind of cool.
People were actually coming for Soundgarden.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Of course.
And it was great to see them at that level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And their
so
bass
awesome.
player at the time is that guy that went on to be a Navy, or not a Navy SEAL, a Green Beret.
Yeah. That's so great.
He was their bass player during that tour.
Does he's still around?
He's still around, yeah.
Does he ever play with them?
I don't think he plays at all.
That'd be freaking crazy.
I don't know if he
out.
plays, but I know that he's like a big military guy.
Wow, that's so crazy to think that you went from that to then
military. His story is amazing.
Yeah, of course.
And you can find it online. His story of like being kicked out of Nirvana and then kicked out of Soundgarden right before both bands took over the world.
And then becomes a Green Beret.
And then he's like, screw this, I'm joining the Army. And then excels in the Army to the point that he's like a Green Beret.
Do you know his name?
God, I can't remember now.
All right, sir, if you're listening, I would love to have you come on.
Yeah, he would be great.
Story. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
That's pretty crazy. But yeah, so it went from there. And, you know, of course, then the manager that did Faith No More, this John Vassalou guy, and Warren Entner, who was in a band called, I'll get back to it. But anyways, a lot of people that do management are former band members.
For sure.
But anyways, so he was Grassroots.
Yeah.
In my midnight confession. That's it. And he's cool too. Super great guy. But anyways, so I worked for them, and then they also had this band, Faster Pussycat.
Okay.
And they were just getting ready to release a new album, and they had a hit, you know, that House of Pain song.
Yes.
And so he said, hey, you can go work for Faster Pussycat. I'll pay you $100 a week more. And I'm like, great, you know, Faith No More hadn't really taken off. I'm like, great, I'll go do this. And it's like a month later, Epic comes out, and Faith No More is opening for Guns N' Roses in football stadiums.
Holy
and I'm working for Faster Pussycat in clubs.
Oh my gosh. Did you think like, I fucked up?
I did think that I did at the time, but I was having so much fun with Faster Pussycat. And they were like, at that period, probably 89, 90, 91, working for them was like really fun. And plus we were on the Dr. Feelgood tour.
Wow.
So I got to tour with Motley Crue at the peak of their career.
What the fuck, man? So you're literally engulfed in everything as far as music from the 80s. Now we're leading up to the 90s.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
there's billions of people on the face of the planet, and there is a very small amount of people that have experienced the things that you have ever
I have to be
experienced,
thankful,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's just, and you're front and center. I mean,
Yeah.
you're an unofficial band member to these things. I
Very
mean,
unofficial.
Well, but it's true, because I see the things that you do, like with Maroon 5 and Mike, and it's so needed.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everyone's replaceable, but so are band members at the end of the day. But what you do bring to the table, man, this is really fucking cool. So Faster Pussycat, touring with Motley Crue
That was
as well.
amazing. That was so fun. It was crazy.
What were they like?
Well, Mick Mars is a nice guy.
Okay.
I can tell you that. They don't portray him as a nice guy,
Of course.
in the movie.
Yes.
Because they show him as being kind of salty.
Yeah.
But as far as like the people working on the tour, he was very, very nice and very easy to talk to and very friendly.
Was his back fucked up?
He walked stiff.
Okay.
He was very stiff.
Yeah.
But
I feel for him, because he has
for sure, me
degenerative
too.
disc disease, and I have that in my lower back as well. I believe that's what he has. But I feel for him. But
me
man,
too.
that's fucking crazy. What did you like the movie?
yeah, I liked it a lot.
Machine Gun Kelly playing dude, Pamela Anderson.
Oh yeah.
What the hell?
What was fun about that movie is while all of that was going on was when I was hanging out at Mates a lot and those guys were around. And when Nikki Sixx OD'd,
Yeah.
Steven Adler told us that story like 2 days after it happened. What? We were at Mates. Steven Adler comes in and he's like, dudes, you're not going to believe what happened over the weekend. Nikki OD'd. He goes, this is the way he told it. It was, how could it be hilarious? Have Steven Adler tell me. He goes, we're at this party, right? He goes, and we're all hanging out there, my band, his band, everybody's hanging out. We're having a good time. He goes, and then I go in this room and Nicky's laying there and he's turning blue. He goes, so I went over and I slapped him. And me and Vinny, my friend, we're just looking at each other like, holy shit. And he goes, so I slapped him. And he didn't come to. He goes, so I slapped him again. He goes, so then I took advantage of the situation and started slapping the shit out of him.
Fuck up!
This is what Steven Adler said.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He goes, so I took advantage of the situation, started slapping the shit out of him.
His buddy's fucking ODing and he's slapping.
Oh,
man.
it gets better. So he goes, so the next day I go to visit him in the hospital. He goes, and he's okay, you know? And I said, so are you okay? How do you feel? He goes, well, I feel all right, but for some reason my face hurts.
Shut the fuck up!
I swear to God, Steven Adler said that. For some reason.
He told him, obviously.
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. He didn't say.
Oh, shit.
That was the end of the story. It was hilarious.
Oh, man, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And so you're how old around this age?
That was, I guess, probably 29, 30.
Okay, and did you ever take a step back and look at your life and go, fuck?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, it's funny because it at the time I wasn't making really enough to live a normal life on, but I was having so much fun and I was single, so it didn't matter.
And you were around the people that
and I'm around these people. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like at some point it had to either become serious or something had happened. And then, I had since I had my foot in the door with that management company, they were always giving me work. And then I got a call. I was looking for work and I got a call from Q Prime Management, which is one of the biggest management companies. They're based in New York. They do Metallica and Def Leppard, everybody. And so now Chili Peppers now too. And they, so I got a call from this guy, Tony, that was their guy. And he said, Tony DiCiaccio. And he says, hey, I got this band called Screaming Trees. We need a guitar tech.
Screaming Trees.
And I didn't know who they were.
Yes.
But I'm like, okay, So I took the job. It was another $100 a week. And slowly moving up. And so I went on the road with them, which was fun.
Okay.
I mean, it had its moments.
Screaming Trees.
The guitar player was difficult on stage, but the sweetest guy in the world off stage.
Okay.
And the bass player, just great guy. And the drummer, great guy. The singer, Mark, is a guy, Mark Lanigan. He's also a solo guy. And he was very salty, kind of grumpy, salty guy. But for some reason, he and I clicked.
All right.
And he had a serious drug problem. Like, I'd never been around people that were using like heroin and stuff,
So,
at least that I knew.
So you're around all these people, but this is like the first time.
Yeah, this is the first time there's a guy in the back of the bus that's nodding off. You know what I mean?
When did you?
I just went on with my life, and we were canceling shows left and right because either he was sick or something. But for some reason, like, it was funny because when I got the job, the tour manager said, "Look, our singer can be a little tough." He goes, "He may threaten your life at some point."
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, you know." But he never threatened my life. Wow. And I think it was the first day. Like, they were a Seattle band, and I showed up to rehearsals in Seattle, and I was wearing, like, I figure, okay, I got to wear combat boots as a Seattle band. And I'm wearing, this is the most crazy. I look at it now, I'm like, what was I thinking? I was wearing bicycle shorts.
What the fuck?
A fanny pack, a roadie thing at the time. A sweatshirt with the sleeves cut off. A bandana, because nobody will know I'm bald if I'm wearing a bandana. Sam Kinison even once said, "Hey, you look like me." He
said that
yeah, he did. At one of the Motley Crue shows.
No fucking way.
I don't ask for autographs. But
I
just saw him in the hallway, and he goes, "Hey, man, we got the same thing going on." I go, "Great." He goes, "You got a piece of paper?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "To Dave, the new me, Sam Kinison."
And I still have it.
I still have that. Yeah.
Fuck yes.
And he died just a couple of years later.
Fucking legend.
Crazy.
Truly brilliant. That's
he was
awesome.
amazing.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so another side
But
story.
anyway.
Another name-dropping side story.
I fucking love this.
Yeah, but anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah, Screaming Trees. So I show up for the first rehearsal dressed in this getup. Well, I thought I looked cool.
What the fuck? The bicycle shorts, you said?
Bicycle shorts, combat boots, yeah. And that shirt and a fanny pack and the bandana.
Oh, you're trying to get some.
And I walked in, and Mark looks at me. I never met these guys. I walk into the rehearsal, and he looks at me and goes, "Wow." I go, "Hi, I'm Dave." He goes, "Wow, Dave, that's quite a getup."
No shit.
I kid you not.
What were you thinking?
And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought you guys would like it."
And never forgot that.
For some reason, at that point, like, broke the ice. He never laughs, and he laughed, and everybody's like, "Wow, you made Mark laugh," you know. And then he was just always super cool to me. And at one point, I remember we got a new monitor guy. Brian was his name. Brian walks on the bus. We were on the road. The monitor guy got fired or something. New guy comes along, and he walks on the bus, and our tour manager, Danny goes, "This is Mark. He's our singer." And Mark, this is Brian. And he just looks at Brian. He goes, "I could kill you, Brian."
Shut the fuck up.
And then I'm like, that's what he meant.
Boom.
But strangely enough, him and Brian became very good friends.
Wow.
But, you know, it's funny because I hear all these stories about Mark Lanigan, you know, like wanting to, you know, getting into fist fights with people. There's videos of live shows where he's smashing shit. Like, he could, but for some reason we just really got along. And then later I would see him, when getting the Chili Peppers that we'll get to, we were doing a tour with Queens of the Stone Age.
Fuck yeah.
And Mark would sing, he sings a couple of their songs. And he came out and he would sing one song. And he's like standing backstage waiting to go on. And he goes, "How you doing, Dave?" I go, "All right." He goes, "You're looking at the hardest working man in rock." And he'd go up and sing his one song and then go hang out on the bus.
You know what it is, man? It's your energy, right? It's your fucking energy that you put on. I'm a big person on energy. It's like the unwritten law of attraction, and you fucking put it out there. You're just such a good, kind-hearted dude who likes to drop names. No, I'm just joking. No, see, I'm so happy that you're being so open, and I appreciate it because people are gonna fucking love this.
It's fun.
Like,
I mean, it's crazy if you know who these people are.
And this is the evolution of your life.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at this point. You're with you're Screaming Trees, right?
Yes.
What was next?
So we finished that tour, and then the manager calls me up and he goes, "Hey, you know, this is the same management company." Yeah. He goes, "I got a band that's doing a tour starting in Australia. It's another $100 a week, and there's suicidal tendencies."
Shut the fuck up.
And I'm like, "Okay."
Sorry.
No. So I'm like, "Okay, I know who suicidal tendencies is because my band Hostage, our lead guitar player had just quit suicidal tendencies to join our band." You talk about great career moves. He quit suicidal tendencies, joined my band. hostage.
My mouth is on the
went
floor.
nowhere. And his name's Grant Estes, and he is a brilliant guitar player.
He works in the industry still?
No.
Oh.
No. He kind of floats around job to job, does his thing. But he's a super sweet guy. I saw him. We all got together a few years ago.
That really sucks.
Yeah, it really does because he's so good. And he didn't really make anything off of that first Suicidal Tendencies record. But yeah, so anyway, so I go to work for those guys. Robert Trujillo was playing bass for them. I was working for him, doing guitars and bass for them. And we did like this whole world tour, which
That
was
was
great.
your first world tour.
No, I had been to Japan before. Went to Europe with Faster Pussycat. I think maybe not. Anyways, I know I'd been to Japan before. Oh, I did Europe with Lynch Mob, George Lynch's band.
Wait, this was before?
Yeah, before.
Wait, you left that part out?
Yeah, I accidentally left Lynch Mob out.
Where was Lynch Mob in all of this?
After Faster Pussycat.
Okay.
Our tour manager worked for them and hired, because it's kind of like the movie business.
Yes.
It's like you get in with a producer or something. When they go from project to project, you go work on those projects.
Yeah.
That's really how it works out.
For sure. Makes
Only
sense.
we're not unionized.
Yeah, oh, really?
No.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Not at all.
That's fucked up. My wife's, she's a union makeup artist. So, I totally freaking get it. Wait, you guys aren't unionized?
Nope.
Do you wish you were? if you don't ask?
I have thought about it, but where I am for the last 20 years,
Yes.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Your bands take care of you.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They take care of me.
And especially now Maroon 5.
And I mean,
Yeah.
Adam takes care of me.
Yeah, blessed.
He's
Blessed.
a great guy.
Blessed.
But anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, so I go out with
Suicidal.
Suicidal Tendencies.
Damn.
I had a lot of fun. Another tour with Metallica.
So they're on tour with Metallica.
Yeah, we did a Metallica tour. I think they called it the Shit in the Sheds tour.
Shit
It was
in
a
the Sheds.
summertime tour of all the like, what they call them sheds.
Yes.
They're like amphitheaters.
So when you're on these fucking world tours, do you ever get time to like travel or go see anything or?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, yeah, but not much. I mean, it's usually a lot of times you get there the next morning you're doing a show. So, I mean, it's occasionally you'll get somewhere where the schedule just works out that you've got a day off there and you can go hang out.
So Suicidal Tendencies, Metallica, traveling
Yeah.
the world. But this is like your first like world tour.
I would say, yeah, with that one band, we went a lot of places.
And how many months is this?
I worked for them on a whole tour, then an album,
And you
and
work
then
on
the
the albums.
tour after that. Yeah, well, usually
Wow.
Usually, if somebody's recording and they're at a level where they can afford a guitar tech, I'll work on the albums too.
And so you make sure the
But
guitar.
I don't like working on albums. I hate working in the studio because I always feel like I'm in the way.
Okay.
And it's a lot of sitting around and these people are paying you. And I just feel funny that I'm getting paid to sit on my butt and order food. It's just not comfortable for me.
So at this point in your career, do you still?
Thankfully, it works out now. I've been with Maroon 5 now for 10 years.
Okay.
Thankfully, when they record, they use the same engineer and the same assistant engineer who takes care of most of those duties.
Yahtzee, baby.
So yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't like. I've got this cool old van. I don't know. You'll have to show.
I want to see. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
a 1983 Chevy van that's all fixed up like a 70s van.
No way.
But yeah, so I've got this van which is handy. So like, if they need something at the studio, I'm on call basically.
Yes.
But they hardly ever call, which is nice. But and when they do, it's like, oh, sometime this week. But like, yeah, there's never like, oh my God, I need something right now.
God, I fucking love it.
But yeah, so like, you know, if they need some gear at the studio, I can just throw it in my van and head down there. Oh, we need a keyboard out of the locker. Okay, you know.
It's so funny. You
And
don't.
then, yeah, it's great. I'll stop and I'll have lunch and then go home. You know?
We don't even like when people just like think of like Maroon 5 or these bands. You don't even think about all the things that go into this and all the people to make it all happen, right?
Yeah.
But so that's fucking awesome. So you went on this world tour, Suicidal, Metallica. Were you like 30, 31, 32?
Yeah, I think I was about 34.
Okay, so a little bit later on.
So I mean, years are going by. You know, Lynch Mob was almost a year, which the bass player for Lynch Mob, Anthony Esposito, I love him so much. One of the greatest guys ever. He plays with Jakey Lee now in his band, Red Dragon Cartel.
Okay, yeah.
He's a super great guy. And we had so much fun. And George Lynch could be a handful. And there was one point where he was going through guitar techs left and right. And we were doing rehearsals. And I said, well, I'll just take care of him for the rehearsals. And he goes, oh, I didn't know you did guitars too. I thought you were just a bass tech. I go, how's somebody going to live just being a bass tech?
Yes.
And then he goes, well, why don't you be the guitar tech and we'll get another bass tech? And I said, George, I like you.
But no.
I don't. That's why I don't want to do that job.
Fuck yes. And so he respected that.
Oh, yeah, he did. He's like, okay, you know.
He gets
cool.
it. He gets it.
But I see him occasionally too, and I feel bad for him. He's a really incredible guitar player. But, you know, he kind of,
yeah,
I don't know, just struggles a little here and there.
Of course.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, the days of old were definitely, it was a different time, especially for rock stars and shit
yeah,
like
you
that.
know, and it really sucks because he's a brilliant guitar player.
Yeah, I mean, drugs obviously run rampant everywhere.
And even when it wasn't really a drug thing when I mean, he had stories from the Dawkins days that were crazy, you know, like, you know, on the Monsters of Rock tour and stuff. You know, everybody was doing tons of blow, you know.
But that kind of goes full circle because, like, you have mental or back or whatever the fuck it is. You know, we all deal with shit. But at the end of the day, man, he gets to say that he's George Lynch. You know.
Yeah.
So he came, he saw, he conquered. So yeah. So suicidal tendencies. How long were you with them?
And he lives just right near us. He lives in Valencia. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
No fucking way. Do they still perform? They still perform, right?
No? Yeah, they do Dawkins stuff sometimes.
Okay.
And he does a version of Lynch Mob, but it's all different people.
All right. But people still come out to see it, man.
Yeah, people go see him. Yeah. And he still rips.
Yeah.
But so anyways, so then, you know, Suicidal Tendencies, worked with them for a while, then nothing was going on. And I get a call from a guy that I worked with Suicidal Tendencies who had gotten fired, I think. His name was Brian. And he says, hey, Dave, he goes, I'm working for Flea. I go, really? And he goes, yeah, we're doing rehearsals at SIR here in Hollywood. And he goes, and their guitar player is Dave Navarro, you know, from Jane's Addiction. He goes, he doesn't have a guitar tech. I go, really? And he goes, well, he's got a guy, but his guy is out working for another band, you know, a guy that did the Jane's Addiction stuff with him. And he goes, so he doesn't have anybody, and we need somebody at least, you know, to cover for a couple weeks here at rehearsals. Can you do that? I go, yeah, I'll come down, you know? And I'm like, wow, you know, okay, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
This is like the first, like, where to you it was like shit.
Well, yeah, a friend of mine named Willie, who is a lighting designer, when he did Faster Pussycat and Lynch Mob and some other ones with me, and Willie said, Dave, he's a very, very funny guy. He said, Dave, we're destined to work for B bands for the rest of our lives. You know, and I remember when I got the call, I'm like, wow, this is Red Hot Chili Peppers.
This is it.
I remember thinking, this is not a B band.
No, fuck no.
You know, yeah. And they
they
had done Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Oh, shit.
But they were about to release One Hot Minute.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great album, but a lot of Chili Peppers fans don't like it because it doesn't have John Frusciante.
Yeah.
Who is really much of their creative genius. So anyways, I go down to work. I did not know Dave Navarro. I knew who he was, but okay, you know, and I get down there and I meet him and he seems like a nice guy, you know, and then Flea comes over to me and he goes, so who else do you work for? You know, I go, well, I recently worked for Suicidal Tendencies. And he goes, He goes, that Robert Trujillo guy? I go, yeah. He goes, he's pretty good, huh? And I kind of smile. I go, yeah, you could say he's pretty good. And I'm thinking to myself, he's spectacular.
Yes.
I mean, Robert Trujillo's
fucking insane.
One of the best bass players I've ever seen.
For sure.
His stuff with Infectious Grooves, nobody could beat that. But anyway, and I don't really like Infectious Grooves that much. But, well, I like Infectious Grooves. I'm not a big fan of the singer.
I get it.
Who is Suicidal Tendencies, Mike Muir.
But instrumental.
You have to, you know, it's just doesn't appeal to me.
It's like a cake, you know, there's different layers to it. You can appreciate this, but maybe not that.
And Robert Trujillo was so much fun to work with. I mean, there was so much laughter, you know, working for him during shows. He would do the funniest stuff. And so I really enjoyed the guy. So I mean, I really backed him a lot, And Flea's like, yeah, I hear he's pretty good. Yeah, he's really good.
Was he fucking with you or just asking?
No, he was just asking. Yeah.
Okay.
So this Dave Navarro guy, I'm working for him in rehearsals, and I'm wanting to do the tour, And the drum tech was Louis, this guy Louis Matthew, who I still talk to a lot.
Nice.
He was their drum tech, but he was also their kind of daily guy, friends with them forever. He was Chad's drum tech. I don't know if you know anything about Chad, but the nicest guy on the planet. And I mean, it sounds silly because I keep saying that, but really great guy.
But you mean it when you say it. So.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the other guys are nice too, but I mean, Chad's
next
normal.
level. Normal. I love that. He's normal.
He really is.
Well, yeah.
But normal and very funny at the same time, and very friendly. And I love him very much. And I still talk to him a lot. But anyways, so it was cool. I'm like, wow, I'm trying to get this job, and I'm doing my best, and I'm talking to Louis like I go, so am I in, or
Were you nervous?
I don't know. No, I wasn't nervous really. I just was really wanting that job,
of course,
because I knew it would change my life.
Yeah,
and not only more than double my salary, because I mean I'm going from making $600-700 a week,
to now
to $1,250. Which is what it was when I first started with
for
them,
sure.
which isn't much now, but in 1995, that was pretty good.
Hey, man, if you live in like Mississippi, Texas, Kentucky,
yeah, exactly.
You can live a decent
Even
life.
Then, it was decent living in L.A.
Oh, for sure. Not now.
Living in an apartment, but anyways,
not now.
Yeah, not now. No. But yeah, so it was something I really wanted, and then finally, God, I'm trying to remember exactly what led to it. But anyways, just at some point, Dave walks over to me and he goes, we're doing this tour. Do you want that job?
Shut the fuck up.
And I'm like, yeah.
Dave Navarro comes to you and asks you that.
Well, because I'd been working for him for a couple of weeks.
It just sounds so weird to me.
Yeah, I know.
From the outside, it's like,
and
so cool.
And I guess you can kind of know Dave a little bit because he's on TV now.
Yeah.
Same with Adam Levine. You get so you have a kind of Dave Navarro is such a fun guy to work for. He's generous, very generous. Like he would always be giving me cash tips here and there, just
seriously
for the fun of it. Yeah.
Was that common with other bands you've been with?
No. I mean, you'd get sometimes like a tour bonus, but even those are something that don't really happen.
But this was different.
Yeah, this was different. I mean, he would I remember we did a thing in Japan where they gave the band a bunch of cash to bring back because you had to separate it out for tax reasons.
Yes.
And when I got home, I unzipped my bag and there was $1,000 stuck in my bag that Dave stuck in there.
Dude.
Because I remember when we were on the bus going to the airport, Dave goes, "Is this your bag?" And I thought it was in the way. I go, "Oh yeah, you want me to move?" He goes, "No. Then I get home, I open it up and he was asking because he stuck $1,000 in there.
He really fucking liked it.
Yeah, he was super great.
Damn,
I really had fun.
That is so fucking cool. And at that moment when he came to you and he asked you, when you went home that night, do you remember it?
I don't remember going. I was married at the time, but I don't remember the interaction with my wife about it. I remember.
Did you tell your family, your friends, like?
I don't remember. I really don't remember saying anything. I mean, I must have because it was huge to me.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I'm working for. You know what really stuck? This is funny. I mean, obviously their music is one thing, and I enjoy it. But I remember standing there in the room that first day, and I'm looking at these guys, and they'd all met me, and they were all nice.
Yes.
And I was like, these guys were on The Simpsons.
That's what went to your mind.
That was my starstruck thing of them, is that they were on The Simpsons.
And then it eventually becomes normalized after.
Well, yeah, but it was funny. I remember asking Flea, I was like, so what was that like, doing The Simpsons? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, what was it like? He goes, it was like going in a studio and talking into a microphone. He goes, it's not like we hang out with Homer or something.
Just go into this fucking virtual world.
And I'm just like, yeah, I guess that is kind of,
I
felt like a goofball.
Okay, and so you're how old at this time?
Oh, I guess that was, 95, I was 34.
And so what happened next? What was it
What happened next is we go on the road. And I'm still drinking a lot. Now, I don't want this to turn into a whole drinking thing.
For sure.
But I was drinking a lot, and those guys were sober.
Oh, they were sober at this point.
Yeah. They didn't drink at all. Well, Chad, the drummer, did.
Okay.
But, Anthony was sober and struggling. So they were kind of like, this has to be like a no drugs tour, which was fine. And Nathan didn't do drugs anyways, but I drank a lot. And I actually had a drawer in my work box that I would keep empty bottles in. Because I would drink beer through the whole show.
And just so they wouldn't know.
Yeah, and then I'd put the bottles in the drawer, and then when we're going to load the truck, I'd pull the drawer up and throw the bottles in the trash.
Respect.
Everybody hides their thing.
For sure.
But it was okay to drink. People were drinking it.
But just keep it out of the, I mean, it's respect for what he was trying.
And I was hiding something
So listen, him struggling with his opiate addiction, I know exactly what that's like. For the longest time, I personally struggled with opiates. And it's a fucking beast to kick. And I sympathize. I read his book, his story, and obviously you mean
Anthony?
Yeah. And so man, it's very disheartening because we're at this level now in society with the fentanyl epidemic, and it's just fucking taken another level. And it's sad. And
it really is. It's hit my family.
It's hit all of us, and it's fucked up. And for me, it was finding my path, my calling, getting into the hair industry, having a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. But for him, he's at the top of his fucking shit. So it's like, what else is next? So it's a lot different at the end of the day.
It's different, but I've had that conversation with him.
Oh shit. Okay.
I've actually talked to him about like, it's got to be harder for you than, granted, I never had the opiate thing,
for sure,
but I had a big alcohol thing.
Yeah.
And I remember this was just a few years ago. I went to say hi to everybody. They were rehearsing. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And, because their tour manager, Gage, is one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
So he's like, hey, you ought to come down and say hi. It's been a long time. So I go down there to say hi to everybody. And now Josh is playing for them, but playing guitar for them, who's a sweetheart. Well, now he's not playing for them, but he's an awesome guy. And I've known Josh since he was like 18.
Damn.
And so it was great to see him succeed like that. And such a talented guy and sweeter than anybody. But anyway, so I went down there to say hi to everybody. And he was asking about a family member of mine that he knew was struggling with opiates, and I was telling him what was going on. And I said to him, it's got to be hard for you, because you being who you are, people want to party with you.
Of course.
And he's like, no, it's the same. It's no harder for me than it is for you. And I just kind of went, I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
I'm glad I'm not you.
Yeah,
in that sense,
It's so true, because for me, finding my calling, finding a purpose in life, I was feeling it was something else, right?
Yeah.
The opiates, and because I have fibromyalgia, and so my pain. Every time I would try to quit, the pain wouldn't go away, and so then I'd replace it with that. But once I had a purpose and a calling, I was like, fuck that, this is what I need to focus on, and if I stay with this shit, then I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah.
And so my life is 180 degrees different at this point, and I can have some drinks, and I'm completely fine, and it's been years. But for him, it is. I know he says it's not.
I know, but I still don't agree with him.
But I don't, and that me, going through it. No, he is at this different level, and
plus he can do that.
Yeah.
And get away with it if he survives.
Of course.
He can do what he wants.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody's going to fire him because he's doing that. You know what I mean? It's like your life isn't, you could still live your life and do that.
Of course.
Unless it kills you, which it has.
He could shoot dope in front of a cop, essentially, and
which almost anybody can now.
Of course. Well, I guess that's true. So times have definitely changed. But what you said, you're absolutely right. But at the end of the day, addiction is addiction is addiction. It's all fucking hard, and he's just trying not to, make himself.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, respect to him.
Yeah,
so.
and he's a cool guy. I've never had. I know some people that have had issues with him, but those are mostly people that don't work with him anymore.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, but I never had a crossword with that guy, and he was always super nice to me, and just he was great. I love him.
And so we'll bring it back a little bit. When you were, touring with them, and how long was Dave part of it?
Yeah, so Dave's playing for them. I'm working for him. Everything's cool, except that it started to get pretty obvious that Dave was not happy.
Yeah,
and he was still fun to work for, but like at one point he had me He goes, send the runner out for a little TV with a VCR built into it.
Okay.
I go, okay, runner, we need this, comes back with this thing. And then he has The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
So he comes up to me, he goes, I want you to, where my rig is set up on stage, I want you to put the TV on there so it's facing the audience. He goes, at the beginning of the show, I want you to put this Godfather tape in there. I'm like, okay. And so what he was doing is watching The Godfather during the show.
Shut the fuck up.
He's playing the shows and he's watching, like he comes over, he goes, oh, this is when Luca Brasi gets it, He goes, come here. And they're in the middle of a show.
While he's performing,
I think it was his way of showing his displeasure.
Like, guys, come on, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, it was really, it was unusual.
Wait a minute.
Very weird.
And that's just so crazy to me to even think like.
But I thought it was funny. I mean,
no, it's
I was
fucking
like,
hilarious.
that's hilarious.
It's literally hilarious. And I guess it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because I know it's second nature for him to play and he's playing it so much. But to just kind of fucking zone out.
To be so disconnected that you want to watch a movie in front of 12,000 people.
But he eventually left.
Yeah, he eventually left. And then, we did a Jane's Addiction reunion tour that I worked for.
Really?
Yeah, with Flea on bass. Which was really cool. I would remember being really excited about being a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, because they were back together, or at least Flea was.
Flea was with him.
Were you there when Flea had his the car? Didn't something happen to him, or one of them in Red Hot Chili Peppers? Their car blew up, or
not that I remember.
I'm gonna look that up after, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. Yeah. It's whatever.
I don't remember anybody. Chad had a motorcycle crash, and so did Anthony.
Okay, no. I just remember as a kid, a rock band. I swear it was Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whatever, it doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah.
You were part of that reunion. Was there bad blood between them? Like,
not at the time.
Okay,
but then David started using again.
Yeah,
and that turned into an issue. But I have to say, even working for him. When he was using, and his thing was shooting coke. It wasn't really opiates so much.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable if you're around somebody that's doing that. It's amazing. But anyway, so he would need to do that like every 15 minutes.
What the fuck?
Because it doesn't last a long time like other things.
Yeah.
And he would go behind his amplifier and do it
while
during shows. Yeah, like in between songs. And it was really uncomfortable for me.
Oh my God!
And everyone else. And plus, I genuinely love the guy. So I remember at one point doing like a little mini. Because also, while working for them with the Chili Peppers was when I quit drinking, and he was kind of helpful with that. I went to him and I said, "Look, I've got to quit drinking," and he looked at me like with shock. Like, what are you talking about? I go, dude, I'm hammered every night. And he's like, that's so cool. And I'm like, it's not cool.
But you held your shit, obviously.
Yeah, and then he's just like, but so he was kind of instrumental in helping me, which is amazing when you tell people, like if I'm around people and I'm like, I quit drinking while I was on the road with a rock band.
That's so fucking crazy to me.
It sounds crazy, but if you know who the rock band is.
Of course.
And 3 of the guys are sober.
Yes.
It was the perfect situation.
We said it at the same time, like perfect situation.
Yeah. Which is another thing where I kind of like, I don't go into religion and stuff like that, but I mean, I really feel like there's somebody helping me in some ways. Like,
for sure.
What are the chances that I would go work for them and I would need to be with them?
No, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So anyway, so I quit drinking in Pittsburgh on the road with those guys. Fuck? And
how long has it been?
It's been it'll be 24 years.
Have you had a beer?
No. Wow. Haven't had a beer, haven't smoked nothing. I got a shot of Demerol when I broke my clavicle.
Well, that's completely different.
And it didn't even work.
That's understandable.
That's the worst thing about it. I had a bad reaction. I just sat there nauseous for 6 hours.
They gave you too much.
I don't know what they did, but it didn't
that's
work.
Fucked up. Well, yeah, Demerol sucks anyways because you just feel like shit, and I'll do everything not to get it if I go
When
to
I
the
did
hospital.
my thumb, they gave me Demerol. I remember loving it at the time.
Well, I think the level of pain that you were going through too. I mean, I was in the hospital a few years ago, and I had a morphine drip, and I did like it, but then eventually it stopped working. Well, yeah, you press it, and it's like, every couple
cool,
like,
man.
come on, motherfucker. I could live like this.
But anyway, so I was in the right area to quit drinking, and And that
Right place.
was that. Yeah. And I remember it kind of funny. The morning that I decided, we had 3 days off in Pittsburgh, and I vaguely remember any of it. But the morning of the show, I went into Louis' dressing room, who was sober. And I go to, not Louis' hotel room. I go in there, and we're getting ready to check out to go do a show. It's like about 10 in the morning, 11. And I go to Louis, and all teary-eyed. I'm like, Louis, I can't do this anymore. I got to quit. What should I do? And Louis says, well, can you get through today?
There we go.
And I'm like, I can get through today. I've gone without a day without drinking.
Yes.
He goes, well, you know what? We got a show tonight. Just get through today, and we'll deal with it tomorrow. It's a travel day tomorrow. We'll deal with it tomorrow. I said, okay, great. So I made it through the whole day, and then went to sleep in my bunk, and we're traveling to wherever, Detroit or whatever. And it's kind of a fairly long trip, but wake up, and the bus is still moving. And I can't wait to wake up Louis, because I think he's going to give me some ray of brilliant genius of how he's going to help me stop, And I wake him up in his bunk. I'm like, Lou, I made it through the day.
Yep.
Okay, now what do I do? He goes, can you make it through today?
But that's it.
And I looked at him, I go, that's all you've got?
You're fucking kidding me.
I go, you've got to be shitting me. I go, all morning I've been waiting for this, what you're going to say.
Super big pep talk
and he goes, he just shrugs his shoulders. He goes, that's pretty much it, really.
It is. It is.
And it was, And like I said, being around that support group, I mean, they would get together every day backstage, and they were all so much help. Well, mostly Flea. I mean, mostly Anthony and Dave. Flea, I don't think was ever really an addict.
Okay.
He just, he quit doing drugs when he had a kid. It was just like, I don't do that anymore.
If someone's listening to this and they're struggling with addiction, what would you say to them?
Good luck.
Damn it, I was expecting some words of wisdom.
Can you get through today?
Boom.
And
that's it.
I don't really go in with a lot of the organized thing. I mean, there's certain parts of that I just don't agree with.
Me too.
That are like cornerstones of it.
Of course.
But I think it's different for everybody. I know people that are deep into that program that it helps them a lot.
Yeah.
For me,
a friend of Bill.
Yeah. For me, there's just so many things I don't like. I don't want to mess anybody up, but I mean, I don't see it as a disease like other people do.
Whoa.
To me, I drank because I liked to drink.
But what about like opiate addiction?
Opiate addiction is so much more physical.
It is.
I mean, a lot of people that are doing opiates just want to be just don't want to be sick.
Yeah.
And it's different than, like, everybody says it's all the same. And in a way it is, but in a way it isn't. I mean, thankfully I never got into opiates.
Yeah. I think you would think differently. And you know what? I respect your answer.
Yeah, it's just everybody's different.
Everyone's different, right? Everyone's different. So I think there's different levels to it.
The most important thing though is support.
That's it. That's what I wanted
really
to
is.
say.
I don't care what your monkey on your back is.
Yes.
If you're around other people that have been able to live with it and sort it out, that's the biggest thing. Is instead of calling your dealer, call somebody that's been through it that wants to. And there's so many people that want to help you. I tell people I know that just like it's free. You don't have to go to rehab. You may have to go to detox.
Of course.
But I mean, I really am not a big believer in rehab.
I agree, because I've been and it did nothing for me.
And I got an idea. Get a bunch of people that are jonesing for heroin together in one room.
It doesn't, because I got out and I smoked crack for the first time in my entire life.
Yeah,
and it was with a guy in rehab. Yeah. And then when I went to go smoke crack, which was fucking gross, was the first and last time ever. The fucking counselor from the rehab was there smoking crack.
Yeah.
And we spent $15,000. My mom spent $15,000 to put me to rehab, and it did nothing.
Yeah.
Support, purpose. That's what fucking changed my life.
And everybody knows, like, people go, oh, what do I do? Everybody knows somebody who's been through it and has been able to survive it.
Yes.
And that person will help you.
Yes.
And they're not going to ask you for a dime. They're going to help you. And if you talk to really, to me, The reason I was able to quit is because I was surrounded by so many guys that work with the Chili Peppers are also clean and sober. So that support group is built into that organization.
It's ingrained into that, and it's just so crazy just from the outside. Like, where'd you get sober? Oh, with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's fucking nuts to think about, right?
If you don't know,
it's so true. And so, although I personally don't agree with a lot of stuff that NA and AA, talks about, the support system.
The support system, you can't beat it.
But you can also fuck up through that support system. So you have to find the right support system. Like
I said, a bunch of people jonesing for heroin,
of course,
isn't really a good combination.
No, so you have to find the right ones. and I feel for the people that are going through it. But when you're ready, you're fucking ready. One day at a time.
You just have to be ready.
Yeah.
And sadly, some people never get ready.
I know. I'm fucking blessed. I would not be here talking with you today, hearing these incredible stories. So we're gonna bring it back, right?
Okay, yeah. So Dave Navarro.
Yes.
I'm working for him, having a great time. We do the Jane's Addiction thing. He's way off the wagon, but he's still hilarious. I mean, I've never met somebody that could be shooting cocaine every 15 minutes and make you laugh. And he was able to do that. I don't know how.
Wait, did it make you like, God, I just can't imagine that. I mean,
it scared me. There was one point, I remember in Phoenix during the Jane's Addiction tour, I pulled him aside and I cried because I thought he was going to die. And I loved him. I mean, I genuinely, Dave Navarro, if you know him, I know you see him in his tattoo show, he seems kind of cocky, whatever.
It's a show.
He's a very, very lovable person. He's very sweet and very cool and funny as hell. Dark humor.
I love that.
So do I.
If I was recorded and 90% of the fucking jokes I make, I would be fucked, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I love dark humor. I love twisted humor because it's just jokes. People.
Oh, my
it's
God,
fucking
exactly.
jokes. Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, but anyway, so he was having serious issues, and they were doing rehearsals for some shows we were going to do, I think, up north. Anyway, so Dave was at rehearsals, just a mess.
Yeah.
And finally, I had given him a ride home, and it got ugly. He was just not even playing, just completely lost it. So I was out in the hallway. He's like, Dave, can you give me a ride home? I shouldn't be driving. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Dave and Dave.
And so we get to the house, and he starts, he starts talking about how him and Anthony aren't getting along. Yeah. And it's obvious because Anthony's really trying to stay clean and Dave is way off the wagon. So it's not a good situation. So this is kind of funny. I saw the writing on the wall.
Yes.
And so I'm at Dave's house with him, and Dave goes, oh shit, look, walking up the driveway is Chad and Anthony.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. They're coming up the driveway. And Dave's like, oh shit, what are they going to do, So they come to the door, and I walk outside, and Chad goes, Dave, I go, what? He goes, Louis told me that you filed for unemployment yesterday. He goes, is that true? I go, yeah. And he goes, wow, you really saw the writing on the wall, didn't you? I said, yes, I did.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
What? Whoa.
And then he just started laughing. He's like, dude, that's amazing.
So then what happened?
So, I mean, Dave was out, and it wasn't like he was fired. Like people go, oh, Dave Navarro was fired. He wasn't really fired. It just ended.
His time was
done. Yeah. The whole thing just kind of ended.
Thanks for bringing light to that, because I know a lot of people from the outside have their own thoughts and shit. Shut the fuck up. Let the man that
he wasn't fired. It just ended.
Yeah.
And then here's where it gets crazy. I go back to the studio to start packing stuff up, and Flea is still there. And Louis. And Anthony and Chad come back while we're packing stuff up. And Flea had been hanging out with John Frusciante, who has gotten clean now.
All right.
And he says, John said that he wouldn't be opposed to coming back. What? And Anthony looks at me and goes, wouldn't be opposed?
He's like, you motherfucker.
And then I looked at Flea and I go, is he okay? Because I had only met John once.
Okay.
And that's a funny story too. Met him at Flea's house. And he goes, well, he thinks he's okay.
Oh my God.
And then a few months later, John's back. He's back in the band.
Whoa.
And he needed a guitar tech. And Louis says to John, he goes, look, why don't you get Dave Lee to do it? And Louis used to joke around me a lot because he said I was the first professional they'd ever hired. Like everybody that works for them is a friend who needed a job.
No freaking way.
Sometimes
I keep on saying that.
musicians, whoever
it makes
needed
sense,
a job
right?
and they're a friend and it's a good job, So, I mean, even one of the guys from Fishbone works for them sometimes, Dirty Walt, who's one of my favorite people in the world. So anyways, Walt told me one time when we were on the road, I go, so how do you like working as a roadie? Because he's a horn player for Fishbone.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, Dave, he goes, I've been on the road many times. He goes, I've never been this comfortable and I never made this much money.
Oh my. Dave, you need to do two things. One, you need to start your own podcast just talking about your fucking stories. And you could probably bring on some of the most insane people for sure. Number two, you need to write a book.
I did write a book.
Well, where the fuck is it?
It's in a computer stuck in my garage somewhere.
Why don't you put it out?
That's another story. Anthony had just put out
Scar Tissue. Okay. Great fucking book.
Great book,
If you have not read it, you need to go buy it, listen to it, do whatever. It is amazing.
So in times where the Chili Peppers weren't working, they'd take sometimes 6-8 months off. I went and worked for other bands. Like I worked for Korn, I worked for Ozzy, but I still had my Chili Peppers job. This is after John was back in the band.
Once you hit Red Hot Chili Peppers, right?
Yeah, that does a lot for you.
That was it.
That does a lot for your resume.
Once I did Korn, once I did Ozzy.
Yeah, you kind of end up, you're kind of at a place there where now you get offered work, know? So, and it was great because I was single and just doing working a lot. But anyway, so Anthony, I was telling him, I don't know, done some Ozzy stuff. We're back on the road. And I was telling some Ozzy story because there's a billion of them. And it's amazing.
I want to know a couple.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I'm telling an Ozzy story. And then Anthony kind of in the dressing room, Anthony pulls me aside. And he goes, Dave, look. He goes, you've got better stories than I do. I'm like, really?
Wait,
you think so?
What? Anthony?
Yeah, Anthony
said that
he
to
goes,
you.
You've got better stories than I do. He goes, I wrote a book. He goes, you should write a book. He goes, I'll put you in touch with a literary guy that I have, and you really should write a book.
You need.
And I'm like, all right. And then he said, but I've got a little advice. He goes, be careful. He goes, in my book, I told a story that Flea didn't know about. And it really pissed him off. He goes, so you got to be careful. I said, all right. So the next day, we had a day off in Milan, Italy. And I got my computer. I've never written a book. Yeah. And I just started talking about when I was in a band, or what made me want to. I talked about the Monkees.
Just like everything that's going on right here.
Basically, yeah. Started putting all this stuff down. And I remember when my mom passed away. So, it was the weirdest thing. I spent the whole day at Milan.
Cathartic.
It's an ugly town. So I'm not missing anything in my hotel room in Milan, Italy. I know it sounds so romantic. Milan, if you like graffiti, that's your place.
Well, I fucking love graffiti, man.
Graffiti, no, bad graffiti.
Oh, not like... Okay.
Bad graffiti and gray buildings, that's Milan.
People don't think that.
Yeah, I know.
Milan, but...
So I just sat there, and next thing I knew, I was like 20 pages into this in one day. It just started flowing.
Of course.
So I wrote all the... And I got up to Faith No More over time, and I got about 60, 80 pages in. And got in touch with Anthony's guy,
yes.
And he said, well, send me, 30 pages, I said, okay. So I sent it to him, and he said, look, he goes, I'll tell you, it's really, really interesting and well-written. He said, it's really well-written. You did a great job. He said, but there's two problems. He goes, one, you'd have to clear every one of those stories with the people that are in them. He goes, or they can sue you. He goes, the Ozzy stories, there's no way that his wife is going to let that fly. He goes, so you'd have to change his name. And he goes, and believe me, Schmozzy Schmozborn is not as interesting.
Okay, so this is what you do. You start a podcast.
Well, he suggested, this was before a podcast.
Okay.
So he suggested a blog. I didn't know what a blog was.
Fucking a podcast.
Yeah.
You should start a podcast, man. You can come here, you can record, you can bring some people. I'll just sit in the back. I'll record it all for you, get it edited. And I mean, listen, man, you really should think about it because the stories that you have, and I know that you have friends, and people want to hear this stuff. It's not only awesome to listen to, but it's inspiring.
Well, what's amazing to me is we haven't even gotten to the meat of the Chili Peppers thing when John comes back. I mean, that was amazing because I was used to it. Like I said, John needed a guy, and Louis told me, he said, "Hey, why don't you have Dave Lee do it?" Now I'm off working for Korn or Ozzy back and forth.
Fucking hell, man.
So like, John was like, "Well, he works for Dave, you know," and Louis goes, "Well, Dave's not working, and Dave Lee needs a job, you know." So John was okay. He's like, "All right, you know." So I went and I started working for John. Now, this is where it gets difficult in a way because it's hard to describe John without, I don't know, it's almost like you have to know him to understand him. Okay. He is a very kind-hearted person, okay? But at times, he could be a little difficult. No, at times, he could be a lot difficult. But I mean, yeah, you know, but I genuinely love him. And it's kind of almost like I would take a bullet for him. You know what I mean? I really love that guy.
You worked very closely with him.
I worked very, very closely with him for 9 years.
Okay, so for people that you know listening, Anthony's the lead singer. Mm-hmm. John is the
lead guitar player.
Yeah, Flea is
the bass
player, and
Chad Smith.
Chad's on. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's like I said, I love Chad so much. But anyways, so I start working for John, and John is very particular. He plays all vintage stuff. All of his gear, his amps are vintage. His pedals, most of them are vintage. Hard to find stuff that is hard to keep working.
And this was before like the internet really exploded.
It was before the internet exploded, but his stuff, like he's into vintage gear.
Yeah.
And you're doing big tours all over the world. It's hard to keep that stuff working. And so it was a huge learning thing for me. I learned.
Wow.
And it worked out well. Like, it was so funny because John, the first few months, he hardly said 2 words to me. He was very quiet. And I was really uncomfortable with that.
I could understand that.
And I kept talking to Louis, who's known him since before.
Yeah.
And Louis was like, you know, I go, "Louis, man," I go, "why doesn't this guy talk to me?" You know, he goes, "It's okay." He goes, "No news is good news. If he's not saying anything, it's okay." You know? Okay. So then one day we're doing a show, and he looks at me like he wants to say something. You know, I'm over on this side. And I go out, and he whispers in my ear. He says, "I need more bass in the side fill." You know, his monitors. And I step back, and our production manager was this guy named Chris Kanzi at the time. Used to be a guitar tech. Now he's a production guy. And he's funny as hell too. And he goes, he was there for the Pussycat stuff. Anyway, so Chris Kanzi looks at me, he goes, "Did he just talk to you?" I go, "Yeah." Like, he goes, "What did he say?" Like, everybody was like looking at me like, "Wow, he talked." And I said, "Stupid." I go, he asked me who I am and why I'm following him around. Right? Now, of course, that was a joke.
Of course.
But like, that story has, like, Chris Kanzi told somebody, and it's kind of like that thing where it becomes reality.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people come up to me and go, "Dude, I heard that you worked for John and he didn't even know who you were." I go, "That was a joke."
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's become like an urban legend that people think it really happened.
And so that kind of that you said that.
I said that as a joke.
And then it
Chris.
just kind of just.
And he told somebody else who told somebody else. And at some point it became, wow, this guy worked for John and John didn't even know who he was. Well, of course John knew who I was.
Obviously.
Yeah, you know, he's not crazy, you know.
And oh my gosh. And so then you guys start to kind of build a relationship?
Yeah, we did actually. And it started one day we were doing a sound check in a small town in Italy somewhere. Beautiful place. I forget the name of it, but anyways, in a small city there, and this beautiful, like, Roman, looked like the Colosseum.
Damn.
Beautiful place where they still do shows. And we did a sound check during the day, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize they were done. I was looking with binoculars at this place, you know, looking around, and I pulled the binoculars down, and John's just standing there with the guitar ready to hand it to me. And I kind of got startled. I'm like, "Oh, shit." I go, "Sorry, I wasn't paying attention." And then he looked at me and he goes, "Dave, I just want you to know you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate it.
Shut the fuck
And
up.
that was one of the first things that he really said to me. And I'm like, wow, thanks.
That felt
you
good.
know?
Yeah.
And it really felt good because at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to work for this guy. He doesn't even talk to me, you know, because I didn't know him,
Yeah.
and it was uncomfortable at first. But then I began to know who he was and what he's about.
The wall
and
came down.
Such a sweet guy. I mean, such a nice. And I swear, if I didn't know him, I wouldn't believe it. But he's the real deal. Like people go, how could he quit the Chili Peppers? What's wrong? He really is not there to be a rock star.
Damn.
He really is not. In fact, when he joined the band, they were playing smaller places, and he thought that's all it was. And he understands and appreciates a lot of money.
For sure.
You know, he knows that it's given him a life where he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I swear to God, I wouldn't believe it if I saw it. He is not there to be a rock star.
Damn,
he really
so
isn't.
crazy to
And he's
think.
even uncomfortable with it. And people go, why does he, he's quit the Chili Peppers twice? Because he doesn't like being a rock star.
And so they respect it, the band, or no? 'Cause
No, they would rather he stayed.
But he
you
did
know?
it twice.
He did it twice, and now he's back again.
I know. I remember
crazy?
he didn't he. Can you even say that? I don't know if you can.
What? Well,
Didn't you get a text or something like that?
yeah, I mean, he wanted me to come over and take a look at his strats and hang out.
For sure.
I hadn't seen him in 10 years.
Damn.
And so I went, I guess, yeah, I mean, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
But, I went over there, and he said that he had hung out a couple times with Flea or whatever, and had been at Flea's wedding like a week before.
Damn.
And then, we talked, and most of what we talked about was why he quit, because I told him, I said, people are always asking me why you quit. I give him my version. Is it right? Am I saying the right thing? And I told him, he goes, yeah, it's pretty close. It's kind of like, I compare it to Dave Chappelle quitting his TV show.
Yes.
If you've got
Yes.
enough money to live on,
Yeah.
like nobody could understand. Your average person
Yeah.
can't understand somebody walking away from $50 million.
No, but it's fucking respect.
It's you've got enough money to live on the rest of your life.
Of course.
Making more of that money is making you miserable.
Yeah.
You want to make a lot of money to be happy. If making that money is taking away from your happiness
Of
to
course.
the point that you're miserable,
Yeah.
why do it? And that's basically what happened to Dave Chappelle, and
Yes.
that's what's happened to John twice.
Yeah.
But so the crazy thing,
Yeah,
about
that was a
it-
great analogy, right?
Yeah, and I told him that, and he goes, "Yeah, that's pretty much it."
Yeah. Sounds
So
like
then
it.
I'm like, okay, well, he's better than this was like a month ago, a little over a month ago. And I'm hanging out with him, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen him this happy.
Damn, that's awesome.
He is a very well-adjusted, happy person right now. It's like he's got a great girlfriend, super cool chef girl,
Fuck yeah.
just awesome.
Just happy. How old do you think he is right now?
John is, I think he's like 15 years younger than me, maybe a little less.
Okay.
He's 10 years, yeah, because the other children, he's 10 years younger.
So
because like all the other, like Flea and Anthony and Chad are right about my age, like a year younger. And he's 10 years younger than them. So he's probably close to 50 now.
Damn. That's so crazy to me because I remember in the 90s when obviously you were with them in the 90s.
From 95 on.
95 on, yeah. They were just like, fuck. It's just kind of like they're imprinted in my brain. And then to think that they're 50, not that it's fucking old or anything like that. That's just crazy. Time doesn't freaking stop.
Yeah.
But now that he, it seems like he's found happiness, and you as a friend now, I mean, to think where it came from to where it is now, it's night and day. And once again, I appreciate you, man, opening up because there are a whole bunch of people out there. Life gets fucking hard. And one thing that you've done is you have just pushed through your personality. People are attracted to it. I totally just even see that, the few times that, I saw you working, right? And you're about your shit, and you got great fucking stories and great energy. So after, how much longer were you with the Chili Peppers?
Well, see, John came back,
Yeah.
and at first we did a few shows,
Okay.
just so he could get his feel back. And then they went and wrote and recorded Californication. And that was when I went to go work for Korn and Ozzy and people like that. It was about a year that I was working for other people. And those are stories in themselves. But then then, they get ready to go on the road again. And, John had already said, I didn't work on the Californication album.
Okay.
Louis did all of that stuff. And John was fresh back in the band. So they didn't really need a guy watching him.
I got it.
But from that point on, I worked on all the records with them. But, John, so
you did the studio work with them?
Not Californication, but everything
after that,
while John was there.
Yes.
And then so we get on the road, and I remember this shows up why I'm not like an artist relations guy for a record label. I'm the worst person in the world at picking what song's going to be big and what is. I thought Moves Like Jagger was the biggest mistake Maroon 5 could have made at that time.
Shut up.
Yeah.
And then it just...
Yeah, but the drummer agreed with me, though.
Yeah.
Matt agreed with me.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then the day it came out, it was number one.
Yes.
But anyways,
Huge.
the voice was helping too. But anyways, so Louis, I get together with Louis, and he's like, hey, we're getting ready to go on the road. The album's done. You want to hear the first single? He goes, it's called Scar Tissue. You want to hear it? I go, sure, let's hear it, So he's got like a mastered tape, CD thing.
Yes.
He puts it in, and I'm listening to it. And I listened to the whole song from beginning to end, didn't say a word. And I looked at Louis and I said, thank God I got that corn thing to fall back on.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
I thought it was terrible. I was like, this is it? And then Scar Tissue comes out, and they win a Grammy for Best Song. And
it's so
everything else.
fucking good.
It's so good.
It really is. So now it's
yeah, I totally get it now. But the first time I heard it, I was not about it at all.
Man, that song comes on. And
Can you believe that? Can you believe somebody working, has the opportunity to work for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and out of his mouth comes, I'm glad I got that corn thing to fall back on.
And you were joking slightly.
I was joking,
around.
yeah, but then, not long after that, I had, been working for Korn, and then came the Woodstock, and the Chili Peppers were going to play that, and so I was working back with them, but Korn was playing also, so at that thing, I worked for Korn on, I think, Friday, and then worked for the Chili Peppers on the next day.
Fuck? You were at 96 Woodstock. 96 or
no, this was 99.
99, sorry.
I think 99.
99. Was that the one where like shit got fucking crazy?
Yeah, that was with the fires. But we had no idea. They played, I guess Jimi Hendrix's sister was there. And she asked them if they'd play Fire, the Jimi Hendrix song. And so they did it at the end. And we didn't realize that, we could see fires, but we thought they were just little bonfires. We didn't realize that like this place was burning down.
What was that event like? Was it just another event for you, or
it was just another big festival event. Nothing really different.
It wasn't like, this is fucking Woodstock. Woodstock is one of the most iconic concert festivals. It's like the original Coachella, if you will, but obviously,
and it's iconic. You're like, wow.
But it's whatever. And not that it's whatever, but you're just doing your job.
Yeah, it's really back there. It's just another crazy festival.
Of course,
only a lot more naked people.
Yes,
including Flea, who came out on naked.
I do. I remember that.
There's video. There's a funny video on YouTube that.
Let's see.
They opened with "Around the World."
Okay, so we're gonna pull this up real quick.
Oh yeah.
All right.
You get a good shot of me doing what I do best.
Shut the heck up. Are you in this?
Well, the thing is John started the song. He was playing an old Fender, not a Mustang. Anyway, it was this old Fender guitar, and it had all these switches that are kind of confusing.
Okay.
And the two pickups had their own volume control. So he was on one pickup for the opening, that thing they do at the beginning of the song. Then when he switched to the other pickup, the volume was down. And so nothing was coming out.
So you accidentally messed up? Or
I realized what he had done. And I ran out. I run out in front of him, and I turn the volume up on his guitar, and then I run off. It's really funny.
I'm gonna put. So wait, you're in the actual video.
You can see me clearly. Okay, of course, I'm about 80 pounds thinner. But
is that for you? Is there any like iconic moments where you actually you messed up?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them.
There's a bunch of them. What happens in those moments? Because
there's one of me and Adam. There's like a what do they call it? A GIF or a GIF or whatever.
Yes,
it's called,
a GIF
of me bringing the guitar out at the wrong time.
Shut up! And so what?
Oh, I realize, and I do one of those. Never mind, and I turn around and walk off, and he runs behind and starts spanking me on my butt while I'm running.
Shut up!
It's funny, yeah.
Okay, here we go. I got it.
Here we go. Okay, that's after it started.
All right, so it's playing right now.
Okay, there's Flea
Oh shit,
naked.
he's fucking naked.
Completely naked.
And he was sober?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so fucking... Was that you?
No. That's the photographer, Tony. A lot of people think
who
that's
handed
me.
him the... Oh, he
No,
handed
that's Tracy. It's his bass tech on tour.
Okay, so
The sweetest guy in the world.
Damn.
Now watch, you'll see John start playing. Opens with a bass solo.
Fucking hell. That's gotta be so weird to play naked, right?
Well, if I had what he had, I'd be naked all the time.
The dude's packing a fucking hog.
But I joke around with him. I said,
Good shape too.
it looks big on him.
Isn't he? How tall is he?
He's about 5'7".
Exactly. Damn. Is that when he had the blue hair?
Yeah.
Or blue or green, what the fuck that was?
Okay, now once John starts playing guitar,
Damn, that's fucking beautiful out there.
see he's over here.
Okay. Holy shit. I fucking remember this watching it.
Now watch. This is great. Here comes the part. No guitar. Just messing with the switches. What's wrong? I run out, turn it back up, and take off. Yeah.
That's you?
And he just starts playing again.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that funny?
That's fucking crazy. That's so fucking crazy. And so did they talk shit afterwards?
No.
No.
I don't even remember anybody talking about it afterward.
So when things go bad or like not bad, but like things go down, is there ever a moment like where the person like got really mad at you?
Oh, yeah. John would freak out. There's videos. People send me videos of him just like losing it, like completely losing it, like melting down. And there's one, I don't know where, there's one where because here's the thing. If something goes wrong, if you're a guitar player and something goes wrong with your guitar rig, the worst thing you could do is stop playing because I need to fix what's wrong.
Yes.
And if you stop playing, how do I know if I fixed it? You know what I mean?
True. Right.
So he would stop and then I've got the guitar and I'm like strumming it, trying to fix
While
that.
all the music is going.
Yeah, well, or they'll stop and Flea will try to cause a diversion. And because his crazy pedal board has like, 20, 25 pedals. I've got to troubleshoot all that, and sometimes it takes a while. And he would lose it. He would completely lose it.
But then he would just get over it.
And then he'd get over it, yeah.
Of course. Ah, man, that's freaking great.
It was a lot of stress.
That's got to be so fucking stressful.
Yeah, it really was because you've got 12,000 people looking at you like you're an asshole. You know what I mean? Because you're the reason it's not working.
Absolutely.
Not him.
And so do they start the song over or they just fucking...
They usually start over.
Okay.
But train wrecks at a Chili Pepper show are quite common.
Why?
I don't know. They'll just like, something will go wrong and they'll just stop. But one time we were on tour, of course, and we're doing, they had a song called Venice Queen.
Okay.
And it started off with John would make what they call a loop.
Yes.
He had his pedal that would record a loop, and he'd make these sounds with the volume pedal. It sounded kind of like whales.
Okay.
And he would do it every night, would make a new one before the song, which was pretty cool. He'd record a little thing while it goes, and then they'd start playing the song, and that loop would keep playing until at a point where he'd turn it off.
And so every night he would just make a new one?
Every night he'd make a new. It's only 15 seconds or whatever.
But still, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was different every night. And that's one of the really brilliant things about him.
I love that.
Is his solos are vastly different every night of every song. He just plays what he feels. He does not sit there and go, here's the notes to this solo.
It's not cookie cutter.
It's never cookie cutter.
I love that. That's awesome because you.
It's really art that way.
Yeah, it really
But
is.
some people want to hear exactly like the record.
Of course, and respect to that.
But yeah, to him, if he's in a crappy mood, like there's times where his solos would be like Yngwie ripping. Other nights it would be one note over and over, just whatever he's feeling. But he could make one note over and over sound cool. Damn. I don't know how it's amazing.
So what does he even do during his off time when he's not with the Chili Peppers?
Well, he at home, he makes records, solo albums. Okay. He makes records for friends. He's got all this stuff built in his house.
Damn, man.
He's got Neve board in his house, this beautiful old Neve board.
He's been a part of all the biggest albums.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's one of those rare things.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try to compare the Chili Peppers with the Beatles or Led Zeppelin.
Nah, man, but they're fucking.
But it's one of those rare occurrences where those four people, no matter how dysfunctional it may be, those four people work as a unit.
That's awesome.
And it just doesn't seem to work if they make any other changes.
Yeah,
you know,
I
no
get
matter.
that.
Josh Klinghoffer is a brilliant musician. He can play every instrument you can imagine, and a super sweet guy and a lot of fun. It was and does impressions like you wouldn't believe. But he does impressions of people you know. He doesn't.
I
do
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
He does everyone, and I know he does me, but he won't do it in front of me.
And he does it spot on.
Oh my God, everyone.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Should be a comedian.
he could be.
Yeah.
And he's really funny. He came to him and Chad came to Maroon 5 show in Australia.
Oh shit.
And Chad is friends with Adam Levine.
Okay.
They became, because of me. I kind of
look at you.
yeah, you know, but they became buddies, and I knew they would because they're both cool like that. And so Chad came to the show, and he brought Josh with him, and it was so funny. Like towards the end of the set, I look behind me, and Josh and Chad are still there. You know, usually people come for a few songs and they leave. And I go over to Josh and I go, "I'm surprised you're still here." And Josh goes, "Yeah, me too."
Fuck yes.
It was funny.
Fuck yes. But they're homies. They were just already in Australia, and so
they were there. They were touring.
I was
there.
like, damn, they came all the way out to Australia.
Yeah.
But the Red Hot Chili Peppers, man, I mean, you can put them up with the greats because they're fucking that good. And
they really are.
They have these albums that just strike a fucking chord inside your body and brings you to a time, whatever moment you're in. And it's all up to the individual, right? For me, it's going to be me. For someone else, it's going to be someone else. But, you know, for you, I wonder, because you hear this, you've heard it over and over and over and over and over again. And now it's been many years. Is it different for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I had an interesting thing happen when they played, I guess about 2 years ago, they played at Staples. And I went, you know, my wife and I went and hung out. And they did a song called the Zephyr Song.
Okay.
That I remember when they recorded that song. I remember they recorded a lot of them. Yeah. And working for John, being his guitar tech, you really, especially in the studio, he'll go, "Oh, I want kind of this sound." And you do the sound. He doesn't go over there and twist the knobs. It's like, "What is this what you're talking about?" You know, "Yeah, that's what I want," you know? So it's kind of like you feel like you're a pretty important part of the process.
Integral part for sure.
Yeah. And it's cool.
Absolutely.
And when they did Zephyr Song, which was a hit, but it wasn't like, you know, under the bridge. But I mean, when they started, the thing is, the first three notes, ding, 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 when I would set up his amps for shows, I've got to check the different sounds and make sure they're right, you know, and make little adjustments. I would play those three notes because I know exactly what those notes are supposed to sound like.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, that's what I got it dialed in. And one time we were getting ready to record B stuff. It was in between albums. And I was sitting in front of them. I didn't know John was there yet. And I was sitting there, and it occurred to me that what is it? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Imagination, right? And I'm like, I'm like, then I started it just kind of fell into that song. It's just simple notes, you know, it's nothing crazy. I'm not a guitar player by any means. And I'm just like, I started playing that song. And then I turned around and John is standing there like with his mouth hanging open. And I'm like, "What's up?" And he goes, "I never realized it."
Shut the fuck up.
I go, "What?" He goes, "I was watching that movie at that time that I wrote that song." Not watching, but he had been into that movie.
Yes.
And had been, he goes, "I didn't even realize that it's those three notes are the same three notes."
Holy crap.
He goes, "I had no idea."
That's the power of music, man.
You know? Yeah. And so that song is it brings me back to that memory of just him and I alone in the studio and him telling me that and this kind of cool connection that way. And then, so here I am at Staples Center. Now John's not in the band. Josh is playing and they start playing that song and the place goes apeshit, right? Which kind of surprised me because kind of when you're in the bubble, you don't
Yes.
really know how big certain songs are.
Scar tissue.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I'm just joking.
I realize
Yeah,
how big
yeah,
that
yeah.
was. But I mean, you hear the songs all the time. You don't really associate it with what the world is doing.
Of course.
So I hear him at Staples Center, obviously packed. And for me, it's the first time I ever saw the Chili Peppers from out in the audience.
That's so crazy, right? Yeah.
So I get to hear the whole mix and everything. It was great. And they start playing that song, and the place goes crazy. And I'm kind of standing there, and I'm looking at all these people, and I'm like, nobody in here knows my story about this song.
But now, yeah.
And so it's kind of important to me.
It is.
And to see everybody losing their mind like that, it gave me a really kind of good feeling of like I felt like I was part of something important.
Yes.
And so it really struck me hard. Then after the show, I went in the dressing room, and they had like a little party back there, and I was talking to Chad. And because the other guys kind of hide out, they don't really hang out with everyone. And so I'm talking to Chad, and I told him that, I said, I gotta say, man, I go, Zephyr song, I go, it really made me feel like I was a part of something musically important. Yeah. And he looked at me and he goes, Dave, you are a part of that. And you should understand that, And I was like, wow, thanks. I never really thought of that, really, really made me feel good.
And so I go back to what I said before, is that you are that, that unwritten member of the band. You're an integral part of the band, their history.
I don't know about integral. I mean, there's a million guys that can do it.
But it doesn't matter. You were there for such a long period of time, right?
Yeah, and became, like with John, when we had like such a good connection, it was like the management was like, okay, we got to keep this guy around because we don't want to try to get somebody else in there. So John had me work on all of his solo albums and all that stuff with him too, which was a lot of work, but it's
part of your history.
Yeah, well, and he's this crazy artist guy who will work until 4 a.m, and I'm sitting there going, oh God.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
But I just want to go back to what I said. You know how he was watching, Willy Wonka around that time, and it came through in the music, right?
Yeah.
Well, your personality, you being there, everything that you did, this, that, and the other, it definitely has to come through the music 100%, especially for an individual that is there for such a long period of time, longer than, that John, right?
Yeah, which is funny. I literally was there longer than John, and longer than Dave for sure. But yeah, it's kind of funny that like I outlasted the guitar player that was there when I started.
That's fucking nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and then when John left again, Josh came in. Now at that time, they had taken 2 years off. John said he needed 2 years before he knew if he was gonna make another Chili Peppers record. So Flea and I had started a side business, this thing called Flea Bass. That's a whole different story.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, he wanted he
fucking started a business with
Flea. Flea owns a music school.
Okay.
Called Silver Lake Conservatory of Music. It's a serious, really well-respected music school, and it's a nonprofit.
Nice.
So he's very proud of it, and he ought to be, and it's really something. And they provide music lessons for kids that can't afford it. And unfortunately to him, a lot of celebrities want to get their kids in there. And so he's like, okay, great. But at the same time, that's not what it's for, but it also helps to fund it.
Absolutely.
To make it work. So he gets that. And they do a benefit every year. And I mean, Metallica played at it, everybody,
What
it's
the
crazy.
fuck?
Yeah. The bands that play at that thing are insane, But anyways, it's great. And they make money for the school and they do this thing. Because to Flea, like Flea says, if it wasn't for music in schools, that he would be either dead or in jail. He said he would definitely have become a criminal. Damn. And he said because of music, he played the trumpet, was his instrument.
That's crazy.
I know. And he still plays the trumpet. He's really good.
I don't doubt that either.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, big shocker. He's good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fucking brilliant
And you know
musician.
what, though? If you listen to his bass playing, a lot of it is similar to trumpet, like same kind of thing.
He's fucking nasty.
Yeah,
he's nasty.
He's amazing. But anyways, so he was playing these modulus basses, that silver one in the video.
Yeah,
they're $2,000, or more.
Jeez.
And we were talking in the dressing room, and he goes, it's so weird that, these guys, they'll give me these basses, they give them to him,
of course,
and have his name on it. He goes, but I don't make any money off them. They're the ones making money. Yeah. He goes, I have a nonprofit music school, but I play a $2,000 instrument.
Yeah.
He goes, that doesn't make sense. He goes, I wish that I had my own basses and I could sell them for $100. I said, let's do it.
Fuck.
He goes, what? I go, let's do it. I'll do it with you. I go, I'll make the bass. And he looked at me like, what? I go, yeah. I go, why not?
Speaking an idea.
Why not have your own bass company?
For sure.
And he goes, you're right. Let's do it. And he goes, okay, partner. And he shakes my hand.
Shut up.
So during the next break, I built a bass in my garage. Took it to his house. He's like, it's perfect. I love it. I'm like, okay, great. So he wanted him to be as cheap as possible, but still be professional quality.
Yes.
So we found a manufacturer in China that we went and visited first to make sure that it was cool and the people weren't, it wasn't child labor or whatever. It was actually very clean, air conditioned. You can
get that in China. And
you can.
You have to look.
It's where Fender makes their Chinese stuff and other people. So it's
not Apple.
Legitimate. So we went over, started, brought them the prototype. They started building these basses. I was really proud of it. And this is something that's kind of funny. I have this, what people would call a dream job, but everybody I know, almost everybody that does this is kind of trying to find something else because it's great to get paid to travel around the world.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's difficult if you want to have a family. I've been married a couple times, at least. And it's difficult in that sense. To be honest, a little too much information, none of the problems my relationships have had anything to do with cheating. Like, I never cheated on anybody.
Damn.
I never got cheated on. But it's just still difficult.
Respect.
It's some of it is resentment in a way.
Yes.
Like, even my wife now, she works all the time, full time, high stress job. She's also going to school to get her master's degree. She's under a lot of pressure.
I don't doubt it.
She doesn't make as much as I do to hang out with rock stars.
Yes.
And that does cause issues.
Well,
it's like,
of course,
I don't know how many
human.
times she'll be like, well, I don't get to travel all around the world to have fun for a living.
Of course, absolutely. But here's the thing. Like, I don't like for me and my job. I traveled like 70 days last year through the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing hair, right? And it's fucking it. I've been doing it for a decade now, and it was amazing when I first did it.
Yeah.
And it's still cool, and I feel super blessed, right? But it's a job is a job. At the end of the day, you come in, you go out, you come in, you go out. Sometimes you get to stay a little bit, and obviously I don't get to hang out with rock stars, but it's not what people perceive on the outside, and maybe that's different for you. I mean, obviously listen to your stories, but from the outside, people are like, oh my God, it's the best fucking job in the world. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's amazing, but it's not everything that everyone thinks from the outside, because there are struggles, there are up and down.
Yeah, for sure.
It did take my wife and I a long time for her to, I hang out with tons of girls all the freaking time. Yeah. And so it takes a level
the cosmetology world can be shadier than the rock business.
100%. I definitely agree with you. I mean, if anything, there's a lot of women. There's definitely a lot of women. Like, there's a hair show coming up that we have a massive booth, my company, and it's going to be like 50,000 people, like 45,000 women, right?
Yeah.
And so, for significant others, it can be a challenge. And
for sure. I wouldn't want my wife traveling around the world with rock stars.
Dudes, right? Exactly. Yeah. But it's where the cookie crumbles at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you're fucking doing it. But,
but anyway, so Flea, we start this business, we're making these basses, and it was real difficult to get the quality control right.
Yeah.
You're making them in China.
Yes.
They're not going to come out like stuff that's made here.
Definitely not.
And Flea started to kind of lose, like, his heart just wasn't in it at some point. And I understand that. Yeah. And the point of the business was, it was not going to be a nonprofit. It was a business. Make money. And he even said, he goes, I got my nonprofit here. This will be a money-making business. Okay, great. And we almost broke even the first year, because when it first came out, people went nuts. People were like, I got to have this. But we got some bad reviews. And then Flea was like, look, I need you set up every bass that comes out of that factory. I'm like, okay, because I'm quality control guy.
Yes.
So I went to China 9 times in a year for like 2 weeks at a time, sitting in a Chinese guitar factory, working on basses all day.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't what I wanted to do.
Not what you signed up for.
I kind of hoped to do this because I had a little shop at home here in Santa Clarita. It was over there by Home Depot, like on Ruther there.
Yeah.
Their sign is still up there with the smile.
You still have it?
No, the sign. I went by the shop where we had it, and we didn't have flea bass written on it, but part of our logo was his smile with the gap in his teeth.
And it's still up?
It was there last time I saw a couple of years ago. Yeah, but yeah, so it kind of turned into a thing that wasn't what I expected, and I look back on it. I didn't want to believe that Flea had lost interest in it.
Of course.
But he really did.
Yeah.
And it's his name on there. They've got to all be perfect. He even said, he goes, I've got a really good reputation and I don't want shitty basses out there with my name on it. Yeah. And the truth is some of them didn't turn out that great.
I get it.
And so I totally understand. Of course. But I did not want him to shut down the business. Yeah. And he called me up one day. He says, Dave Lee, we got to shut down the business. And I'm like, he goes, I hate to tell you this, but we got to shut it down. I said, where are you? I'll come talk to you. He goes, well, we're, in the studio getting ready to, because Josh had come join the band at that point. And they were kind of getting ready to record. And I was doing the business. I couldn't really work for both.
Yeah.
And then, so I went there and he goes, look, I love you very much. Your job is always secure here, but I can't afford to do the business anymore. Now he says, he goes, I'm broke. I'm like, yeah, which his version of broke, my version of broke are two different things.
It's completely different.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I still understand. And I also realized that it's not just the money. I mean, he was losing money.
Yeah.
I was getting paid.
Yes.
He wasn't. And it was costing him a lot of money. And I don't think he was broke, but it was costing him a lot of money. And he is looking at this thing going, I didn't get into this to lose money.
Yeah.
So I understood. We're still friends, of course.
Of course.
And so I'm like, okay, well, that's that. Now comes, okay, they're going to start working on a new album with Josh. Logical thing. I've been the guitar tech for the last 14 years or whatever. And I love Josh and know Josh. I'm going to go work for Josh. Yeah. Well, then I guess somewhere along the line, they figured, well, Josh, he can kind of take care of himself while they're doing the album. So they didn't really need a guitar tech. Plus Chris Warren, their drum tech, who's awesome guy. He kind of could handle the backline instruments.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of talking to him on the phone because he wanted it to sound like John. So they had to, I said, here's what you do. But yeah, so anyways, so now I'm looking for work.
Were you upset? Were you hurt?
I was upset and hurt.
Because, I mean, it almost sounds like you lost your job because that shit went sour.
Even though I knew that there was work ahead of time, at some point,
yeah,
I was kind of hurt that I wasn't included in the studio. I mean, it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They can afford a guitar tech,
of course,
in the studio. And somebody made the decision that we don't really need one. We've got Chris.
Maybe the vibes or something like that.
No, I don't think it was the vibes. I'm sure it was a financial decision.
Okay.
And I'm not going to name names, but there's one guy in the band that is kind of thrifty.
Okay.
And
he's kind of thrifty.
To be honest, I get it. Like if I owned a business, I'm not going to pay somebody to sit on their ass for 6 months.
Yes.
So I kind of get it, but at the same time,
it's you.
They could afford it if they needed to.
I get it.
And I'm not going to name names, but he used to have long hair. No, anyway. But anyways, so that's just basically how it came about. And so I'm like, okay, well, I got to get back on the road because they're starting an album. It's going to take a year till they need me. So I did a little bit of work for Kid Rock.
Oh, how was that?
It was all right. The guitar player worked for a nice guy. Anyway, so I went and worked, but they didn't work steady enough for it, and they didn't pay retainer. Oh. You only got paid when you were out on the road.
Yeah.
Which I get that too.
Sure.
Another thing where I'm not going to pay a guy to sit on his ass for 6 months. I'm not Adam Levine. No. But anyway, so
Well, you want your people, if you, and that's what it comes
to
down
their
to.
organization, it's not that important.
No,
they
it's-
switch people all the time.
Yes.
So anyways, so that was that, and then one morning, and I was getting depressed because I was used to making good money. Yeah. We lived in a nice home out here in Newhall, and at one point, my wife had to pay both of our rent.
Shit.
I remember it. And well, she was my girlfriend then, but we'd been together we got married after we'd been together like 14 years, which was just a couple of years ago. But anyways, so like we had, I was really bummed and like going, I got to get a job, and I remember I got a call that the Dixie Chicks needed somebody and I didn't get hired. And it was like half of what I got paid by the Chili Peppers.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, this is going to be harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And another one of those, this sounds crazy, and I don't mean to be religious or whatever, but I was literally praying for work.
Well, of course.
And I remember just like hands together, like, please God, get me a job.
Yeah. And I'll never do another bad thing.
I'll never do another bad thing. And it would be nice if it's something where I could step away from the Chili Peppers.
Yes.
I remember literally saying that.
The talk's clicking.
Yeah.
You go back on.
Yeah, because at some point that's going to happen. Of
course.
But wouldn't it be cool if something else happened? And then it was a Saturday morning. We got up and my wife turned on the TV and there was a Maroon 5 video on. And the song Misery had just come out. And they had just released an album called Hands All Over.
Okay.
And so this video's playing, and my wife's like, that guy's hot. And I'm like, well, I can see why you like him. Him and I look a lot alike.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. About as alike as black and white.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we joked about it a little bit, but she's like, yeah, there's something about him. She goes, it's that kind of good boy, bad boy thing going. She goes, he really rides that fence. He's hot. I'm like, okay. She goes, not to mention, look at him. I'm like, yeah, he's a good looking guy. So then I'm like, okay, that's cool. Then like the next Saturday, all week, still looking for work, nothing. Then the next Saturday, I get up, turn on my phone, and there's an email. Says we need a guitar tech for Adam Levine.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I looked at my wife, and I'm like, and that's when she goes, you better take that job, And I'm like, all right. And I don't know the guy, right? I don't know. This was before The Voice and all that. So, I mean, it's like, I'm going to hate this guy.
Yes.
It's like, I'm like, I was dreading. I was like, oh, God, I don't want to do this. But I got to, and the money was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I got out there, went out there, and the old guy was quitting. We're getting out of the business.
Yeah.
And was, showed me the ropes, first couple shows. And then there I am on my own now, out with those guys. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. Yeah. Like the first show we did was at the Greek Theater.
Oh, I fucking love that.
And it was like a summer night.
Yeah.
And the crowd, nobody was trying to kill themselves or jump on stage. And there was no insanity going on. They were like decent people.
Yes.
And Jason, what's that guy that's on that show, How I Met Your Mother-in-Law? Jason.
Oh, Jason Segel.
Jason Segel opened the show.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I'm like,
doing what?
Playing piano.
He's
plays
fucking good.
and he sings.
Yeah.
He was the opening act. And he was hilarious.
Yes, he's so funny.
And I'm standing there and I'm watching this guy. And he was so funny and so down to earth and just cool, And I'm like, I'm looking around and I'm like, this job is not going to suck at all.
Fuck yeah.
These guys are cool and they've got cool friends. And so I'm like, this isn't bad, And then so we're doing shows and Adam at first was a little standoffish.
For sure.
But then we kind of broke the ice. And of course he was a big Chili Peppers fan, like almost anybody.
Yes.
And there was a couple times where we sat down and he started picking my brain about John, and about the Chili Peppers. And we kind of started to click like that. And then like a week into it, I was like, this is awesome. They're all great guys. It was just fun, it was all good.
How long ago was that?
That was almost 10 years ago. Or I think maybe it was 10 years
Was
ago.
Dukoff working?
Yeah, Dukoff was already with him.
What did you think of him at first?
I didn't like him at first. No. Well, him and the other guitar tech were kind of, for me at the time, kind of cliquey.
For
You know,
sure,
and I
yeah.
was an outsider coming
Yes.
in. But on the plus, they all hated the old guy.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, they like, it wasn't tough shoes to fill because they were so glad he wasn't there. Yeah.
For people that don't know, Mike Dukoff is a really good friend of both of ours, and
Yeah.
I started, cutting his hair. He got referred to me by someone I don't know 5-6 years ago or something like that, and like ever since then we hit it off. And
Yeah.
as I've taken a step back cutting hair because of my back and shit like that. We've still remained friends, and he's brought us to a few
Yeah.
of the Halloween parties.
And now we know each other.
And now we know each other, and so that's so freaking funny. And when you started out with them, they weren't anywhere near as big as they are.
No, actually, they were not doing as well as before. It's kind of like with most bands. Their first album was huge.
Yeah.
Second album was not as big. Third album, I think the third album was maybe a fourth was Hands All Over.
Yeah.
And they were kind of on the down a little bit. And had been in Europe, and then there was kind of a rumor going around that we might be going home early because Adam might be doing a TV show. But nobody knew anything about it.
Yeah.
And then we were in Germany, and we had a day off, and there was a meeting, and they're like, we're going home tomorrow. Adam's doing this TV show. It's a thing, the only thing to compare it to is really American Idol. Of
course.
He said it's kind of like American Idol, but a little different. And he's going to be one of the guys on there. And everybody was kind of like, great. It's just all we need is another American Idol.
Yes.
Like, I don't think anybody was on board.
I mean,
Like, even the band members was like, oh, great.
well, because like American Idol.
Me, I didn't really, I'm just working for him. It's
course.
cool with me. But anyways, so then we got home and we went in the studio. We got a new song we're working on. We go in the studio to record Moves Like Jagger. And this was at the same time he was getting ready to do that show. And Moves Like Jagger, like the drummer, I remember Matt just like was literally angry. He hated it so much. But like, so they do this song and I'm like, it's catchy.
For sure.
Not my cup of tea, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, now the voice is taping. It's not on yet.
Okay.
And then it comes, like they start, the first part of it isn't live, they record. So it's about to come on. I get a call from Gage, the Chili Peppers tour manager. He says, hey, Dave, we're getting ready to go on the road. We're ready for you to start working. And I said, well, I'm working for Maroon 5, and Gage goes, wait a second. Gage goes, you're telling me. No, sorry.
It's all good.
Gage is one of my best, probably my best friend.
Fuck.
And Gage is like, but he knew what I was doing. He acted like he had no idea. And he's like, wait a second. You're going to blow off the Chili Peppers to go work for a band that's playing theaters and clubs? And I'm like, well, first off, there's some things in the works.
Yeah.
I go, and secondly, I'm not doing this for my own ego. No. I'm getting paid the same amount of money and now more. Yeah. But like, I go, they're paying me the same. And I really like these guys. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and Gage goes, I'll call you back in a week. Think about it.
Okay.
Think about what you're doing.
1 week.
He goes, I'll tell you right now, these guys are like your family. He goes, and they're going to be hurt. And I'm like, well, Gage, my family hasn't been paying me for the last year and a half.
Of course. It's true, right?
And he's like,
takes care of family.
He goes, well, I'll call you in a week. I'm like, okay. So then he calls me back a week later and he goes, okay, I get it. I understand. He goes, actually, it's kind of cool that you're not going to blow these guys off to go back to your old job. He goes, I kind of respect that. He goes, but the worst thing is I have to hire a teabag to be the guitar tech. I go, what? He goes, yeah, the guy's from England. It's going to be a pain in the ass getting him visas. Everything's going to suck.
Yeah.
Anyways, this guy, his name is Ian Shepherd, and he's one of the best guitar techs in the world.
Oh, fuck.
And one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet in your life. Like the perfect fit
yes.
for them, Yeah. So he became their guitar tech with Josh. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for that guy. He's awesome.
Okay.
He works for Robert Plant. Okay?
What?
This guy works for Robert Plant.
Yeah, he's fucking definitely really good
He's
at
the
his
dude.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the
You
dude.
know, so anyways, yeah, so that's just how that happened, you know, and I stayed with Maroon 5. And then when I went to see those guys, they're like, they totally understand.
Yeah.
You know, Gage was kind of being dramatic.
Of course.
You know, but I mean, they get it.
They get
know?
it. Yeah.
They totally
yeah.
get it.
And then Maroon 5 just.
And then the voice and Moves Like Jagger just, it's been a constant steamroller ever since.
And that's like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Crazy. About 9 years ago.
Isn't that's so crazy for a
Even
band.
Gage has said to me, he goes, that turned out to be the right move. Because
course.
the Chili Peppers, they go through these periods where they don't work at all and they don't keep anybody on retainer. One guy, Chris, the drum tech guy, who's, if I could afford it, I'd put him on retainer. Just to keep him around.
But damn, man, you know, in your life, you've made some, maybe not the right decision, but it was the right decision because, you know, a lot of people, when they look at their life, it's like in the moment, and I get it. But I always say you have to look at your life from a macro perspective, a bird's eye view.
Mm-hmm.
And if
I always think of Radar from MASH that left MASH to pursue a movie career.
yeah, it's like
Currently residing in the Where Are They Now file.
but exactly. And now,
You know,
and
there's
now,
bad career decisions out
of course.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think you'll be doing this for?
I don't know. I'm getting old. You know, it's funny. I'll probably be doing this as long as I can, you know, because it's funny. It's like, it's not like a lot of jobs where you get to a certain age and you retire. Well, the other thing too is guys I know that are older than me that are still doing it. You know what I mean? You feel funny. It's like, okay, I'm a roadie, you know, I'm going to be 60. It's like, but it's almost like I'm semi-retired anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, I think we worked maybe 2.5 months.
That's fucking beautiful.
And the rest of the time I'm at home and I'm making enough to get, you know, pay my bills. And
yeah,
you know, I mean, I don't really see myself unless I can't do it anymore. I don't see myself retiring, and I can still do it easily, you know.
Of course.
And it's another thing about this job. The better you do it, like the further along you get, the easier it gets. Like I couldn't work for King Diamond today.
No.
Because that involved driving a truck, setting up all day long, tearing down till 4 a.m, and then hopping in a Ryder truck and driving to the next town. Or, you know, I could not physically do that today.
Of course.
So, but I can do what I do now because, you know, you're flying to these places and it's fairly easy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And they take care of you, which is,
they do.
You know, and that's the beautiful thing about it, you know, for people listening, you know, the things that I've just heard from many different people in your fucking crew, they always say the same thing about, you know, about Maroon 5 is that they take care of you guys.
Yeah, they do. They're good dudes.
You know, and I definitely respect that. You know, I've had so much fun having you on here. You have no fucking clue. But I want you to, as we wrap this up, right, I want you to share like a fucking Ozzy Osborne story.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause, you know, at least one, man.
You know what? There's a few certain stories.
Well, if you can share.
That are really fun to tell. There's a few. I can give you a couple. Well, Ozzy, there was so many things that went on that you can't, like, I can't remember everything. But there's a certain couple of things. One that really stands out.
How about one that stands out, and then we're gonna bring you back on because I know you got a fuck ton more stories, and first off, I love listening to it, and I know people are gonna.
Okay, let me give you 2 stories.
You give me 10 stories.
I'll give you
the
Ozzy, my favorite Ozzy one.
Okay.
And I'll give you an Eddie Van Halen story.
Shut the fuck
That is
up.
amazing. That is possibly my favorite story ever.
I'm going to get you to start a podcast.
Okay, check this out.
All right.
Ozzy Osborne. We're doing rehearsals at Third Encore.
Yes.
This is a place in Burbank.
All right.
And Ozzy does his rehearsal. Like, he'll come in And it's like everybody's ready. It's like they say Prince would do the same thing. You come in, he goes up to the mic, he says Crazy Train. They start playing Crazy Train. He says whatever song, like he'll just name songs and they start playing them. Everybody has to know every song.
So there's no set list or anything? It's just...
Well, not at rehearsals. No,
Okay.
he'll just like blast through songs. And he'll dig one up early and everybody knows it. But I mean, he's got Mike at the time. Mike Borden on drums, one of the best drummers in the world. Joe Holmes on guitar, took lessons from Randy Rhoads. Robert Trujillo on bass. I mean, he's got the best musicians on the planet, and they're all super great guys. So it was a lot of fun.
One second, sometimes when he's talking, it's kind of hard to understand him, but then he sings and it fucking works.
It does work. I mean, I'm going to take a beating for this.
You don't have to say
No, Black Sabbath. My favorite Black Sabbath is the Dio Black Sabbath.
Wait, what?
Heaven and Hell, Neon Nights. Favorite Black Sabbath stuff is the Dio stuff.
Okay.
So I'm not like a big fan. You know, I mean, I'm a fan. I like the Ozzy solo stuff, but Ozzy Black Sabbath to me, I don't think it was. It's funny, right?
You're gonna get your head chopped off.
Oh,
no, I'm just joking.
No, it's true. I take a beating for that all the time. Another one is I knew Johnny Ramone. I mean, like he was friends with John Frusciante. I was sitting in his driveway when he died in the house. I mean,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When
And
Johnny
I don't
Ramone-
like the Ramones.
Wait, what the fuck? You were in the driveway when
I was
Johnny
sitting
Ramone...
in Johnny Ramone's driveway when he died in the living room. Because I took John there. They were friends.
Oh my God.
And John doesn't drive. So he calls me up. He's like, I got to get to Johnny's house. He's dying. And so I picked him up, brought him over there. And John goes, do you want to come in? You should probably come in. And I didn't want to see him die. So I said, I'm just going to wait out here. Okay. And it was crazy, like a cavalcade of stars. Eddie Vedder, Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie.
Lisa Marie Presley.
Rob Zombie. I mean, crazy. People going in there.
Just all to come see him.
All to see his last moments.
What did he pass away from?
Cancer.
There we go. That's what I thought.
But yeah, he was in a lounge chair in his living room. Crazy. In Sherman Oaks.
Damn, I can't. The life you've lived, my friend.
That's crazy, right?
It's fucking nuts. Ozzy Osborne.
Okay, yeah. Ozzy
Shout out
Osbourne.
to Johnny Ramone. Fucking respect.
He was funny too, but he really was. But anyway, so Ozzy, we're in the room, and Ozzy shows up he's doing a photo shoot before they start playing.
Okay.
So I'm still changing guitar strings. You know, everybody's kind of milling about. Ozzy comes in, and he is like gig ready. He's like got his rings on. He's got the makeup. He's got the velvet coat thing, and he's ready for a photo shoot. He's Ozzy, and normally he shows up in sweatpants and a t-shirt. And it just looks like an old guy with long hair. But here comes Ozzy, right?
Yes.
Photo ready, And the photographer's not ready. They're kind of getting stuff set up. So I'm over there changing strings, minding my own business. And he comes over to me, and I kind of do a pretty good Ozzy. So he comes over, he's like, fuck, man. I should have told her to fuck off.
Oh, that is good.
Thanks.
That is really good.
And I looked at him, and I go, oh, yeah, they're not ready for you. And he goes, no, man. I should have told Mrs. C to fuck off. I go, Mrs. C? He goes, my wife. He calls her Mrs. C because C is...
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You whisper.
Rhymes with runt.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm already laughing, right?
I love it.
So, he's like, I go, what do you mean? And he goes, yesterday, she made me go to Kookaroo. Now, Kookaroo was a chicken place that I think has gone out of business. It was a chain.
I don't even know what the hell
chicken
it is.
restaurant. Yeah, this was in the late '90s, and this Kookaroo place was kind of a fad for a while.
Yeah,
and there was one over in down in
actually, I think I do know what you're talking
Larchmont
about.
area. Yeah, and so he goes, she made me go to Kookaroo, man. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, it was fucking mad. I go, why? And he says, well, okay, we're in the car, right? Sharon's driving. I'm sitting next to Sharon, and Amy and Kelly are in the back. Now, Kelly was like 13.
Okay.
Amy is his other daughter that was never on the show.
Yeah.
at
I was
all.
like,
and she was about 15, 16.
she just didn't want to be on it, or
She didn't want to be on it.
okay. Respect.
And yeah, much respect.
Yeah.
And she's really cool.
Nice.
And so like, he goes, so we're stopped at a light in Beverly Hills. He says, And then like the story starts to take a turn, and he goes, you know, Sharon hates her fucking father. And I'm like, yeah, I heard. He goes, no, man, no, it's really bad. He goes, putting them together is like throwing a cat in a sack of dogs. There's gonna be a fucking fight, man. I go, really? He goes, oh, she hates him. The kids have never met him. I go, really? They don't know their grandfather? He goes, no, they've never met their grandfather. He goes, so we're stopped at a light in Beverly Hills. He says, and there's a man crossing the street. And Amy says, look, there's Tony Curtis. He goes, and I looked, and it's not Tony Curtis, man. It's Sharon's fucking father.
Shut up.
This is me and him, just the two of us.
What the
He's
fuck?
sitting on a road case while I'm changing guitar strings, and he's telling me this. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, man. So Sharon, she fucking starts yelling out the window, you motherfucking cocksucker, motherfucker. And he looks at you and goes, you fucking... He starts running towards the car, waving his fist. He goes, and I'm sitting there praying for the light to change.
Shut up.
This is like verbatim.
What the fuck?
He goes, I'm praying for the light to change. Please, God, help me. And then he goes, and then he's this close to the car and the fucking light changed. And we drive off. And I'm thanking God, man. And he goes, and then Kelly, bless her heart, Amy. He goes, and Amy, bless her heart, says, Mom, why do you hate Tony Curtis?
Shut up.
Swear to God. And I'm just dying, right? I'm just like, dude, that's amazing.
Fucking awesome.
He really, it was amazing. And I just was just pissing myself laughing. It was so, and he's like, get this crazy little grin on his face. And you don't know if it really happened or if it's something he
just
thought up.
fabricated in his brain.
But he told me it happened the day after. I mean, he's like, it happened yesterday. But he would tell these crazy stories about Meatloaf. Meatloaf lived across the street from him.
Okay.
And what's his name? The Christian singer from the 60s. I forget his name. He was a really famous guy. And he lived next door. And he would talk about, he's like, that's fucking mad. I got him living next door. I'm fucking Meatloaf across the street. Everybody wants to be my friend. It's so funny.
What the fuck, man? My cheeks freaking hurt.
Sorry.
My fucking cheeks hurt right now.
Yeah.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart coming on here. This is by far one of the best experiences I've ever had, and I really hope that you'll come back on here. I really hope that you'll start a podcast and let me help
We'll
you
talk
out
about it. I
because
don't know how to do
I
don't even know how to listen to this one.
I will help you with everything because this shit's got to get out to the world, and we'll talk more about it.
And thanks for not saying that I sound like Seth Rogen because everybody tells me that.
No, I
like Seth Rogen. I got no problem with the
I
guy.
fucking love Seth Rogen. Dude's very. I'd say maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. But any last words, ma'am?
I gotta pee.
I was going to tell you many times that if you want to take a piss, you can go at any time. But then the stories would continue, and I'm like, fuck that.
And they kind of, because, I think about that one. That makes me think of another one.
I know.
But when I get a chance to tell you the Eddie Van Halen one, it's my favorite story.
You're going to come back on.
Okay.
And we're going to save
Well,
that.
I'm going to run out of stuff. I'll tell you the Eddie Van Halen. Good night.
Peace out, motherfuckers. Thank you again. And everyone listening, have a wonderful night.
Thanks a lot.
Peace out, motherfuckers.